If you've ever thought, gosh, are we going to see another GameStop meme rally? Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. Today is going to be the Tuesday, January 26th edition. We've got more earnings, January 27th edition, excuse me. We've got more earnings coming up today and this week. Today starts the Fed meeting. We get the results of that here tomorrow. We've got more healthcare news. We have UNH reporting here this morning. We've got GME making news headlines again. Here we go again. Can't wait for all of this. Gonna have a lot of stuff to break down. Of course, we're gonna do the movers, and it is a T3 Tuesday, so we're gonna have a T3 guest for you here today. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Tuesday edition for January 27th. 2026 begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. It is great to see a whole bunch of returning faces here today. I hope the rest of your Monday evening went well. We are back for another market day here today, and should be no shortage of excitement here today. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces out there. Peter is first here today, checking in from Colorado. We'll take that. Good morning. A little warmer here today. It's 27. It is warmer in Colorado than it is here in Chicago. We are looking at 10 degrees or something right now. Still cold out there, but it is warmed up from those real freezing temperatures that we got. Peter, stay warm. Nice of you to join us. Good morning. Richard Judge, good morning. Good to see you again. Solitary Soldier, good morning. Welcome back. 45 Petchy, NP4P coin is going crazy on Moonshot. Is that something I should consider? Three things actually. First, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I hope that you enjoy it. Number two, we cannot recommend anything for you. That's going to be your decision. And number three, I don't have any idea what the hell NP4P is. So maybe ask our chat. We do have a number of crypto folks in here that are pretty up on some of those new coins. Shout out to the chat. If you have anything to help 45 Pesci here, let me know. Good morning nonetheless. Zach McCracken, good morning. Good morning. I realized how cold it is in the U.S. right now. Just now you realize that? I actually took a natural gas short yesterday. Very, very short-term natural gas short as it looked a little extended. It looks like we might have some more weather coming in this weekend, so we might have to close that here pretty soon. We'll see. We'll talk about that. Big Hurt, Brent, good morning. Good to see you again. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Marty, good morning. Welcome back. Marty here foreshadowing it. 500,000 without power and another blast coming for the East Coast. We'll see. Good morning, Marty. Jay Rice, I'm not sure if you're still here, but good morning nonetheless. Did I buy GME at 4 a.m. this morning? No, I was up at 4 a.m. this morning, though, like a psychopath. But I was not buying GME. So I guess I'm not that much of a psycho, it turns out. We will cover the GME story here today, and I would love to hear from you folks if we think this is a trade going forward, or might we see some more fireworks like we've seen in the past. We shall see. Robert, good morning. Welcome back. Jim, good morning. Welcome back. Zabeth Trades, welcome back. You're a day late here. I'm ready to hear about CoreWeave. We talked about CoreWeave yesterday. They had that news that popped, and then CoreWeave kind of sold off the rest of the day. Looks to be a day late there, although I'm sure at some point today we'll take a look at CoreWeave. Big Dave, good morning. Good to see you again. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Futures Kevin, good morning. Knights Lance, good morning. Linda, good morning. Cold here in the south, temp in the teens. And you folks in the south aren't used to that. Hopefully you're staying warm. Big thing, obviously, for me is the pipes, right? If your pipes aren't insulated, got to keep those things warm so you don't have a broken pipe or a busted pipe from the freezing temperatures. That sucks. I've dealt with it a few times. Graf, good morning. Welcome back. Bernhard, good morning. Welcome back. Producer is locked in despite the cold temps in Michigan. Good to see you, producer. We couldn't do this without you. Billy, good morning. Mentioning that Redwire has a contract. Redwire got slammed yesterday, popping a little bit here in the pre-market on that contract. I'm sure we'll look at that as well. Chuck, good morning. Welcome back. Whisk, good morning. Day Trader, good morning. Day Trader, have you ever heard of that coin that that gentleman was asking about, NP4P? Let me know. Lean on you for some of those altcoins. Let me know if you've heard about that. Carlos, welcome back. Ryan, welcome back. Buffalo by Bicycle, welcome back. Marionetta, good morning. It's good to see you again. Lambo Rolls, good morning. Just passing through, good morning. Blazed Rhino, good morning. Brandy, good morning. Welcome back. Reaching Financial Freedom, yes, so fine. Welcome back. Good morning. Laura in Florida, good morning. Laura, how's Florida doing with the weather? Are you surviving? You'll have to let me know. Neville, good morning. Welcome back. Archangel, good morning. Lion, good morning. JJ, good morning. Let's go. The whole group is here. Tyler, good morning. Hakeem, welcome back. Good morning. It's a big day. Llewellyn, Brianna Llewellyn. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Good morning. Hopefully you're doing well. Also, Robot to Trade, good morning. Live to Trade or Trade to Live, good morning. Big of Bees, it's good to see you. Chemo Sabi, welcome back. G-Cord, Bob Hatter, and Durkus, good morning. Who am I missing? Emma Sar, good morning. Nice to see you again. You were a staycation yesterday, Zabit. That's okay. There's another day here today. Z.A. Taylor, good morning. Welcome back. Dara, good morning. It's good to see you as always. Lisa, good morning. And Josh, good morning. Day Trader says, no, I've never heard of it, but Moonshot has a lot of new tokens, so I'm not surprised. I haven't heard of it. Okay. Again, I put the call out for anyone else that's heard about that token. If so, let us know. Give us some background, but I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on something I'm not an expert on. Neville, it's good to see you. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, futures mixed here this morning. S&P futures up 0.25%. The Dow futures, though, down 0.5%, down 0.5%, and that's going to be on the back of a lot of the healthcare news as well as UNH's earnings this morning, which is sinking the stock further. That's what's weighing on the Dow. NASDAQ also up, joining the S&P, positive by 0.61% ahead of Tuesday's open. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session. On Monday, the market saw broad-based gains with communication services, information technology, utilities, financials, healthcare, materials, industrials, and energy, all finishing positive territory, while real estate, consumer staples, and consumer discretionary were the only sectors to decline. Now, today, the big news here on Monday night, President Trump announced fresh tariffs against South Korea for not living up to the trade agreement that was signed in July of last year. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve begins its two-day policy meeting for the year, its first two-day policy meeting for the year, as traders are looking past the widely anticipated decision to hold rates steady on Wednesday to instead scrutinize the announcement for signals regarding the timing of future cuts. And this is what we've discussed. Powell's press conference is going to be the more important part than the actual rate decision here this week. We've seen that before, and it looks like we're going to see that again. As mentioned, the Fed CME watch tool is pretty much predicting a pause here. It's been in the 90 percentile for some time here, topping out here at 97.2%. The 10-year Treasury bond yielded 4.21%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.58%. We have several stocks in focus here for you today. Again, it's a big earnings week, so there's going to be a lot of stocks here that report earnings that are going to be in focus for our group. General Motors is the first on this list. The ticker is GM, and it was 0.4% lower in the pre-market on Tuesday, as it was projected to post quarterly earnings of $2.20 per share on revenue of $45.8 billion prior to the opening bell. Now, we have that report in. GM traded up in the pre-market here. It closed at 79.43. It printed a high of 86.10 in the pre-market. It's pared back some of those gains and is currently bid at 82.22. Now, General Motors reported fourth quarter EPS of $2.51, which beat the 220 estimate. Sales came in at 45.287 billion, which slightly missed the 45.80 billion estimate. General Motors sees full year 2026 adjusted EPS of 9.75 to 10.50. That was versus the estimate of 11.73. So mixed report here, guidance kind of on the low end. GM still popping here in the pre-market. We'll see if it can hold those gains here today. The next stock on our list also reporting earnings and in the news, it's going to be United Health Group, and the ticker on this one is UNH. It dropped 8.24% ahead of its earnings, which were scheduled to be released before the opening bell. Analysts were expecting quarterly earnings of $2.10 per share on revenue of $113.82 billion. The Q4 EPS came in at EPS was $2.11, which beat the $2.10, beat by a penny there. Sales, however, came in at $113.215 billion, which slightly missed the estimate of $113.817 billion. United Health sees full year 2026 adjusted earnings to be more than $17.75 versus the $17.74 estimate. Full year 2026 revenue expected to be over $439 billion versus the $454 billion estimate. Looking at UNH here in the pre-market, again, the stock closed at $351.64. It is broken 300 to the downside, currently trading at $298 here in the pre-market. Nucor is the next stock on our list. Nucor declined 3.11% after reporting downbeat earnings for the fourth quarter. It posted quarterly earnings of $1.73 per share, which missed analyst consensus estimate of $1.91 per share, and revenue of $7.687 million, which missed the analyst consensus of $7.868 billion. The next stock on our list is going to be Humana. Humana, ticker HUM, shares fell 12.23% following a proposal by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to keep payment rates for next year's private Medicare plans roughly flat. We'll cover that news story here shortly. The last stock on our list is Cloudflare. The ticker here is NET. That jumped 7.73% as social media excitement surged over the weekend surrounding Claudebot, an open source AI agent built on Anthropic's Claude. Now, this is interesting because some of the software names have really been killed, and yesterday a lot of them rebounded. Net, however, outperformed all of those names. go to the SPY chart. Let's take a look at where we sit and what the key levels are here for today. Yesterday, again, we traded higher here, and it looked like we were just kind of pushing away from the 20-day moving average. But once again, we did not really have the strength to break higher. I know there's a lot of anticipation of the SPY going to 700, S&P going to 7,000, and all of that. We just don't seem to have the strength to make this final push, at least not yet. And perhaps the earnings this week, or maybe simply getting the Fed rate decision out of the way, will pave the way for that. But as you can see here, if I back out a little bit, we're basically trading up to this stubborn trend line, which for whatever reason, let me see if I can save this and overwrite this. We're pushing up to this trend line. I mean, I basically just drew this line here. I would say 696 to 697. But realistically, 700 is going to be the big level here if we can continue to push higher. We'll see if we end up doing. I do have the 20-day moving average at 689.22. So if we pull back intraday, we should first start by watching that level. We also really talked about 690 to 692 kind of being a sticky point there for the SPY. Well, we're sitting above that. We'll see if we use those as support areas to the downside. But I've pretty much got my eye on that 20-day. More so than the 690 or 692 numbers. Let's take a look at some insights from analysts here. Professor Jeremy Siegel maintains a highly optimistic outlook for 2026, advising investors to look past the current political turbulence. We've been saying a lot of that here on the show as well. Despite rising government shutdown odds and delayed tariff rulings, Siegel argues these are temporary impediments. He asserts that, quote, growth momentum remains the central story, end quote, with GDP estimates tracking north of 5% and recession fears fading completely. Siegel identified the defining theme of the year as a genuine productivity revival driven by technology. He observes that the U.S. is producing more output with fewer workers, a dynamic that supports real growth in corporate earnings without reigniting inflation. Regarding the stock market, Siegel sees a constructive backdrop where leadership is finally broadening. That's something that we've talked about quite a bit here. He highlights that small cap and value stocks are meaningfully outperforming early in 2026. And that sound you hear, yeah, that's Tim Melvin yelling from the rooftops that he's been right for a long time. This rotation aligns with his view that the market is shifting focus to companies that use AI rather than just those that produce it. Ultimately, Siegel concludes that while policy noise will persist, quote, the fundamental trajectory for both the economy and markets remains firmly positive, end quote. As far as some data here today, January's consumer confidence data will be out by 10 here today. Okay, let's take a look here. The big story here, this has to do with the Medicare shock that sent United Health, Humana, CVS, and others like CNC tumbling. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services on Monday outlined proposed methodological and payment policy updates for Medicare Advantage, easy for me to say, that point to modest payment growth in 2027 while emphasizing the program's sustainability, accuracy, and administrative simplicity. All of that sounds good. The notable U.S. health insurers under pressure after the update include Alignment Healthcare, ticker ALHC, Centrine Corporation, ticker CNC, CVS Health Corporation, ticker CVS, Elevance Health, ticker ELV, Humana, ticker HUM, Molina Healthcare, ticker MOH, and United Healthcare Group, ticker UNH. The CME released its calendar year 2027 advanced notice of methodological changes for Medicare Advantage capitation rates and Part C and Part D payment policies, a required annual process used to update payment rates and refine technical assumptions. If finalized, the proposals would result in a net average year-over-year payment increase of a mere 0.09%, translating to more than $700 million in additional payments to Medicare Advantage plans. Citing analysts, Wall Street Journal noted that it was estimated that the Medicare agency would propose a 2027 rate increase of roughly between 4 and 6%. So a huge divergence there. The Wall Street Journal report on Monday highlighted that the proposed rates came in below Wall Street expectations, largely because federal actuaries used a lower spending growth assumption tied to traditional Medicare costs. Analysts had expected this growth rate, which directly influences Medicare Advantage payments, to be higher than the 4.97% used in the proposal. Historically, as additional data becomes available, actuaries often revise this growth estimate before final Medicare Advantage payment policies are set in April. When estimated risk score trends tied to coding practices and population changes are included, the average expected payment change rate rises to 2.54%. The agency said the effective growth rate, a key component in setting benchmarks for Medicare Advantage payments, reflects projected growth in original Medicare per capita costs as estimated by the Office of the Actuary. Quote, these proposed payment policies are about making sure Medicare Advantage works better for the people it serves, end quote. That came from CMS Administrator Mehmet Oz on Monday. He goes on to say, quote, by strengthening payment accuracy and modernizing risk adjustments, CMS is helping ensure beneficiaries continue to have affordable plan choices and reliable benefits while protecting taxpayers from unnecessary spending that is not oriented towards addressing real health needs, end quote. As part of the broader effort to strengthen the program, CMS proposed updates to the Part C risk adjustment model. The agency said its approach is guided by three principles: reducing administrative burden through simplicity, enabling fair competition among plans, and ensuring payments are accurately reflected beneficiary health risk. The proposed model would continue using version 28 of the clinical classification system, but recalibrate it with more recent original Medicare data, updating diagnosis and expenditure years to better reflect the current costs. CMS also proposed including diagnosis from audio-only encounters from an unlinked chart review record starting in 2027, though plans will still be allowed to submit those records. For a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly organizations, CMS reiterates its plan to transition risk adjustment fully to encounter data systems. For 2027, the agency proposed blending risk scores evenly between the 2017 CMS HCC model and the proposed 2027 model as part of a phased transition. CMS said policies affecting Puerto Rico would largely continue existing approaches to support stability in a market where Medicare Advantage enrollment is significantly higher than in other jurisdictions. On the Part D side, CMS proposed risk adjustments updates reflecting Inflation Reduction Act changes and more recent data, while also redefining predictive accuracy for prescription drug plans. The advance notice also detailed proposed updates and feedback requests related to Part C and Part D star ratings, with substantive changes subject to future rulemaking. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I struggled with that. Shares of major insurers fell sharply in pre-market trading on Tuesday. United Health Group was down 13.13% at 305.45. That has since taken another leg lower. Alignment Healthcare fell 15.2%. Centrine dropped 7.28%. CVS Health slid 11.4%. Elevance Health fell 7.14%. Humana declined 15.03%. And Molina Healthcare was down 6.04%. All right. Next thing here, this is going to be about Apple. And this is a little bit of a, a little bit of a tease story here. Apple set to unveil something very impressive this spring, says Fitzgerald CIO. It reminds me of the lead up to the iPhone. Fitzgerald Group CIO Keith Fitzgerald shared his optimism about Apple's potential in the field of artificial intelligence. He also hinted at a very impressive release from the tech giant this spring. Fitzgerald, in a conversation with host Stuart Varney on Fox Business on Monday, pointed out Apple's strong marketing presence, high margins, and cash flow, and predicted a major product launch in the spring akin to the iPhone's revolutionary form factor change. Quote, it reminds me of the lead up to the iPhone when they changed the form factor forever, end quote. The CIO said that they believed the announcement would be made at the developers conference. When asked if he would be buying more Apple stock, the CIO responded affirmatively, saying that Apple is not lagging in AI as commonly believed. He also commended Apple's outrageous margin and cash flow. When Varney inquired about the nature of his upcoming release, Fitzgerald suggested a significant development in the form factor domain. He mentioned rumors and Apple's patent filings, hinting at dynamic things that could potentially redefine the concept of iPhone and watches. Does anyone have any idea what these might be? You'll have to let me know. Fitzgerald's comments come amid a series of significant developments for Apple. The company on Monday unveiled the second generation AirTag featuring an upgraded ultra wideband chip and a louder chime for easier tracking. This release was preceded by reports of Apple's plans to launch an AI-powered wearable pin to compete with OpenAI's wearable. Despite concerns about rising memory costs and slowing App Store growth, Apple's stock has been performing well. JP Morgan recently raised its price target for Apple, citing strong iPhone demand and a potential reduction in operating expenses as drivers for an earnings beat. Analyst Samik Chatterjee believes that these factors could lead to nearly 25% upside from the current stock price levels. Apple's actually made a really good run recently, too, like 11 plus points. Apple is set to report its first quarter results on January 29th. That's Thursday this week after the closing bell. You can see here Apple actually scores really well in quality and really well in momentum. We'll see if that momentum picks up, if the new things that they release here are actually impressive. We'll see. We'll see if that's what we end up getting. Okay, now the story that I didn't think we were going to be getting, but here we are. GameStop. The stock is soaring because Michael Burry is getting involved. Let me know if you had that on your bingo card. By the way, GameStop shares are extending recent strength Monday afternoon after famed investor Michael Burry disclosed that he's been buying shares of the video game retailer, adding fresh fuel to a rally already driven by CEO Ryan Cohen's insider purchases. In a new Substack post on X, Burry wrote, quote, "I own GME and I've been buying recently," end quote. The famed investor, who's of course known for shorting the U.S. housing market before 2008, believes he's buying near 1 times tangible book value, highlighting Cohen's role in deploying the company's capital over the long term. His comments quickly circulated across social media platforms, sparking a sharp jump in shares of GameStop on Monday. Here's the tweet itself, and for any of you folks that want to follow this or any of the comments in the tweet or any of the back and forth, that's in the article here for you. The jig is up. In part 1, I outlined how he arrived on the scene. We had a talk in 2019 about GameStop and investing. The Chewy founder then made a big splash as an activist with a Form 13D later in 2020. He is held on with the diamondest hands. I didn't even know that was a term. Shares jumped intraday to around $25. That's roughly up 8% on the session. Monday's move builds on gains sparked by disclosures that Cohen bought 1 million GameStop shares in the open market last week at prices just above $21, lifting his stake to about 42.1 million shares, or 9.3% of shares outstanding. The company also recently approved a new compensation plan, which would grant Cohen options on roughly 171.5 million additional shares if GameStop achieves ambitious long-term performance targets, including a potential $100 billion market capitalization and $10 billion cumulative EBITDA. Burry's renewed interest matters because he was one of the earliest high-profile investors to champion GameStop's turnaround. Through his firm Scion Asset Management, he disclosed a sizable GME stake in 2019 and pushed the company to buy back stock, cut debt, and streamline operations, arguments that helped legitimize the contrarian bull case well before the 2021 meme stock explosion. Although Burry exited prior to 2021 short squeeze, his original thesis that the balance sheet and the loyal customer base were undervalued became a reference point for many retail traders. Seeing him return now at what he frames as close to book value and with Cohn firmly in charge, reinforces the idea that a seasoned value investor still sees asymmetric upside. And I guess that's where I would ask here, do any of you agree with Burry that there's asymmetric upside here in GameStop for whatever reason? Just curious to see if anyone has the same opinion here. Traders across social media are taking notice. GameStop was trending over the weekend on socials as Domo Capital Management's Dustin Daparala announced that he was invested in GameStop stock again. Quote, "We're back in GME, and I don't think we'll be the only one back," end quote. And that was on a series of X posts. Now, GameStop, U.S. multi-channel video game consumer electronics service retailer. Company operates across Europe, Canada, Australia, and the United States, primarily selling new and secondhand video game hardware, software, and accessories through its GameStop, EB Games, and Micromania stores, as well as international e-commerce sales. Now, if you're curious on some of the fundamentals here or some of the earnings, the EPS estimate is 31 cents. That's up from 30 cents year over year. The revenue estimate is 1.47 billion. That's up from 1.28 billion year over year. And the valuation, the price to earnings ratio is 26.1. That indicates a premium valuation. It does score pretty well on growth and all right there on value. Not yet high here on momentum, but we'll see if that changes. And we'll see if Michael Burry is a part of any of that change. Okay, folks, it is a T3 Tuesday. Our T3 guests have been popping every single week. We're going to do it again here. Let's go ahead and bring on David Prince from T3 here today. DP, how you doing this morning? Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Really good. Happy. All's well.
Okay, so it sounds like your new year is starting off all right then.
Yeah, I think if we continue on this path this year, I'll be more than pleased.
Okay, well that's good. We want you more than pleased, folks. Get David Prince's 2026 game plan live on February 2nd. David, can I just start there? What is your game plan for 2026, or at least what you can share right now?
Yeah, sure. I'll tell you a little bit about what I wrote 4 weeks back, so it's not like an afterthought. That we would see the return of volatility, that we might even tap that 540 area in Qs, the original highs that we broke out and took out and continued above 600, that Mag 7 wouldn't be the only game in town, and that a few themes would actually work out. One, eVTOL, which I really believe this will be. Although there are no numbers to back it up, I believe it'll be a lot like Quantum was to 25, is what we'll see from that group in 26. I know a board member and I'm really fond of some of the major players in EBTL, which is the European one. Of course, Joby's the leader. I talked a lot about Immunome and how this would be a breakout year. I also talked to you about it. Last I hear, I think, I don't know, might have been 16 or 17. It's now 25 or 26. They had amazing data, remains our largest position. And what I really believe is that this is a year to ultimately be less of an investor and more of an opportunist. I wrote about this a month ago. I said, we're going to see some wacky volatility. It's not going to be as easy as buy MBIS and ride it for the next 100 points. Valuation matters, and the market's going to broaden out. And I also said, don't try and catch the top too early in all these memory and storage plays. I know you probably thought I was going to metals. That if you look at them from a PE basis, there were some similarities to what we saw with Apple. Always traded 10, 15 times, became a software type company versus handset with the services business, got re-rated to 25, 30 times, whether or not we agreed with it or not. It was, and it continued to go higher several 100%. And these guys probably continue to do that for a few months and then look the F out, because as production comes on, I really think there will be an epic short opportunity at some point this year for that group. So that was some of what I talked about, but really to look for easily a 10, 20% pullback that I won't be smart enough to know when it is, but I think it's early part of the year.
Okay.
And there's some data to back it up. Second year of a new president, all that sort of stuff. And for me, I said, if you want to make money this year, it's really less about the indices and more about focus on individual stocks. Sure, there'll be a little bit of outperformance. We saw it in IWM, XBI, some themes recently, including space. But ultimately, this year, I think it is more than ever in the last 3 years, a market of stocks, not a stock market. I know that's an old adage, but I think it's very factual for the market we're in today.
Okay, so it seems like if we're more active, if we're able to pick our spots here, we might just do better than buy and hold investors this year. I know that this group here
I don't
loves to
even
hear
think
that.
it's close. I
You
mean,
don't even think it's close.
I
Okay.
had my biggest trade of the year last year, and it was in a short that, by the way, I covered almost 10% below where it is right now this morning. So if we're going to have that volatility, whether it be through the indices or right now it's the metals, I mean, we're a trading show to some degree, right? So if you're an active trader, there will be lots of opportunity. I mean, people have bought, some of the space stocks at the end of December, probably made their year in some cases a couple of weeks ago. So I really think there'll be a lot of vol type moves and a lot of opportunity for traders, but not this fluid buy high, make the next $50. I think that game is so done, it's not even funny. I hate agreeing with Kramer, but that easy money stuff that he kept harping about, the year of easy money, he actually called the bottom, out of fairness, when he said it. He was saying sell. Stocks like iron went up 70, 80%. But I do believe conceptually that game's over, right? You can't just say I'm buying iron, MBIS, ASTS, and at the end of the year be filthy rich. I don't think it'll be that simple at all.
Okay. Folks, if all that sounds good, be sure to get David Prince's 2026 game plan live on February 2nd so you can stick with it. QR code is on the screen. Link is in the chat. David, let's talk about some of these individual names here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'd be happy to start with some of the memory names like SanDisk or Micron, but I also wouldn't mind asking you about Apple. We recently saw a really nice trade higher here in Apple, like 11 plus points. Looks like it's higher by about 1.6% here again. So are there any stocks, any individual stocks that you want to start with here and talk about?
You mentioned Apple, so let's go with Apple. And you mentioned memory, and they kind of go hand in hand right now because a lot of people believe that dip was really about memory, right? That there's going to be an issue with gross margins and forward guidance, depending on if they're hedged out with memory, not what is the actual effect for memory, right? Memory goes in every phone they make, etc., computers, you name it. So I said, we've now pulled back about 15, 20% on the chart. The worst chartists in the world can look to a pivot back in November, not looking at it right now, but I think it was November, and see that 244 spot. You have the chart up so you can see.
It was middle of October. You were closer.
Right. So as it broke down last week, right, for I think it was 6th or 7th day in a row, I said, guys, if there's ever a time pre the print to get long Apple because they're building in a lot of negativity. And I literally said, let's go long calls. I really think the trade works. And then I think when we're right, we can take enough off to actually be long into the print because it's not a bad setup. There's such negativity into the print. And if memory is hedged out or less of a problem than people perceive, we know handsets are selling well. It's all over the street. We know China's doing much better. We know services is doing much better. And then yesterday, there was a whole just insanity over they're actually an AI play, that everyone's buying those small boxes. You know what I'm talking about? The news that came out yesterday?
Yeah.
Where everyone's buying the mini Macs and creating all these new apps via AI. So I think, well, first off, I'll just tell you what I did. So I bought the 255s, like fours. I was early, and they went all the way down to 250. Today they'll be like 7, 8, probably be $8, $9. I'll be out of like 90% of them, and I'll just play with some house money going into the print. Because down at 244, it looked like they could even have an issue with memory, and the stock would still go higher because it's built in. Here, I think after the equivalent of a 15-point bounce, kind of even. No one could call Apple cheap. It's 30 times and barely grows. So that's exactly how I played it, and I'll take off more of these 255 calls because They're so deep in the money. I might go 265 with some of the money, maybe switch up because they're so deep in the money, it's almost silly. So maybe I'll just switch with new calls. But it's exactly what I'm doing with that.
Okay, so real quickly here, just recapping one of the things that you said there. He's talking about the Claude bot. This is the piece of news that you're referring to Apple. So since we're talking about that, what other stock actually traded up on that was Net yesterday. So yes, Cloudflare actually
about that. There was a couple strong notes on it as well.
So any thought here on Cloudflare? I know this is Apple's earnings here are this week, just a couple of days. That's already made its move. This is 2 weeks out. You got any thought here on ticker NET?
No, I'd like to sound smart and tell you, and I've played it before, but don't have a great feel on it or trade it that often. So I would be the wrong guy to ask. I can take a look at the chart and we can see together, but it's not one I know. Ooh, God, that looks special.
Yeah,
I hadn't looked at that today. So yeah, when did they report? A week or two?
Yeah, Tuesday, February 10th, after the market closes.
Price is truth, and that's some powerful truth. So you have to wonder if that's powerful. So if they back it up with real numbers, I'll take a look at some calls into the print. I'm not really much for chasing, especially in this market. Just ask the guys who bought CoreWeave yesterday, 10 points higher than the close, right? Or USAR and everything else. But I'll take a look at it. I'm not an expert at this name. I've always been just better with, say, I don't know, call it CrowdStrike and Palo Alto, et cetera. But Cloudflare, wow, that's a powerful chart, so I'll take a look. That's okay. For you on that.
Okay. Did you want to talk about any of those memory names like SanDisk or anything like that?
So I think what's important to understand, and even I made the mistake. Like, I'll give you an example. Yeah, last week I captured 30 points on a short and I captured 20 points on a short, right? Because we had tremendous volatility. It was one day like pre-market, we were shorting at 515, or that was after hours. The next day it was like 460, but it kept bouncing back. And I think it's really important to understand that these companies, some of them or most of them, are earning so much money that you don't have any real negative news to really have an extended pullback. I know we can talk about, it's overpriced, or they've built in too much, or the RSI is too high. But in the end, this is a wild trade because there's just no supply. And in order to create supply, you have to have big factories and you have to manufacture. And you just can't do that in a week. It just can't. Just not how it works. So I actually have been playing them from the short side, including Micron. Now, if I was smart, I have zero problem saying it, would have been long. I've owned SanDisk at $100. I just wasn't smart enough to realize what was about to happen. So I'm trading it, making 20%. My point is, if there is a sell the news event, I wrote about this on Twitter, that's just strictly a sell the news event, this sets up these guys a lot like NVIDIA for several quarters, where it led, it was so powerful, it would sell off on news, everyone would call the top, and a month later we were making new highs. Yep. So if anything, I think you really have to pay attention to the fact that Micron doesn't even trade at 20 times, right? Now, I'm not going to say you didn't miss a lot. This shouldn't be your first entry, but if you have been playing some of these wild swings and you get a material sell-off, 10, 15, 20%, they're probably more buys than sells. Unless they tell us we are actually much more fluid with our manufacturing. We built this, we're taking some product from China, and things are going to change in the next quarter. They keep saying that it's going to be tight, not till like the end of 26. I mean, we keep hearing from guys at Micron or the CEO himself, SanDisk, that they're talking not till early 27 to really find some equilibrium between demand and supply. So if that's the case, any of these, I always go SanDisk, Micron first, and then then Seagate, and then Western Dig. Just how I look at things. But I ultimately think that dips will be bought.
Okay, and I mean that's a really good point there. Also think about, I mean, if robotics really takes off as it is, they're going to need that high bandwidth memory for that as well. That's just going to be another thing here for these companies. So
when stocks get re-rated, it's usually a process. Like Apple, once it turned into a software less a set company or hardware company, I should say. That move made another several 100% because going from, as long as the numbers came through, which they did, going from trading from, I don't know, 12 to 16 times for like a decade to a 25, 30 times, that's a whole nother move in itself. So these companies are now kind of being re-rated as growth companies. They were trading as commodity companies. Most of them were single-digit PEs, or specifically Micron, which is the leader. So this is a process. Now, if anyone thinks I'm saying buy Micron today at this price, no, right? Like, not how I do things, but not even remotely. But I do believe when everyone's saying the move's over, that's probably when you should be stepping in and buying some of these, because it looks like there's another quarter or two of these insane moves. But I would definitely, as we come into the middle towards the end of the year, really think about, okay, if they're materially higher and production's coming online, we see deceleration. These are all about pricing. In any sort of pricing, then there's going to be a material pullback you don't want to be a part of.
Okay. Now, just kind of looking at the Micron chart here, what do you think about 345? What do you think about the 20-day moving average? Looks like the last time it pulled back to the 20 and the 50, that was good.
That's my go-to. So I look at that, I do the simple math, and I said 15% pullback or so, 16, 17%. Love it. Like, I would imagine, unless he said something to really make the story change, like, okay, this has gotten insane. You couldn't expect pricing to plateau right here and even decelerate over the next few months. Then forget sharps. That means 300 to 280 is coming. But if everything remains the same or tighter, yeah, absolutely. That 21-day is a raging buy.
Okay. Really good stuff there. Appreciate that. Definitely going to shout you out here for this. One of our viewers here, Jay Rice, says, David, thank you for let me make sure I get it right. IMNM here was one of my biggest winners of last year. Here's what the chart looks like. So any update on this?
So last I came on, and I honestly don't remember where it was, but I think 15, 16, 17, I basically said, guys, we can talk about the science, the phase 3 that's coming up. But I said, I have something easier for you. The CEO of Seagen, who founded the company from scratch. I don't mean like he came on after it was founded. I mean the guy who created the company from the very beginning, before it was sold to Pfizer for $42 billion, now runs what I consider to be a rinky-dink market cap company, meaning it's like $1 billion. So if you believe in jockeys like I do, if you believe that this man's one of the preeminent scientists in the world and an effective businessman, who, by the way, is buying hundreds of thousands of shares in the open market, you don't have to be very smart to maybe buy some stock. Well, here we are about 10 points later. Here's what I can tell you. Would I buy as aggressively? No. But on a pullback into the low 20s, would I? Yes, because it's about 4 times the company today after this phase 3 successful trial. The comp that is out there in the market in terms of successful drugs was bought. And it was bought for well over $4 billion, about 4.2 or something. Immunome, last I checked, is 2.5, 2.6, 2.7. Now, what's important to understand is this recent move is from that drug. So if you just go against their comp, it's still dirt cheap. But here's the important part. This is an ADC company in terms of where their focus is on cancer. And this isn't even their main play. Clay's a long-termer. He'll probably make several more acquisitions. He's already effectively, and this is the most important part of the story. So in science, you have guys who organically create drugs and have people in laboratories. And then you have businessmen who basically go out there and take drugs that have already had hundreds of millions spent on these drugs, and they can't quite get it to the finish line. And then you have a superhero like Clay, the CEO, who then goes out and buys those drugs from companies with weak balance sheets for pennies on the dollar, right? That's exactly what he just did. So he basically took a drug he bought for 100 million, 200 million, and created like $1 billion in market cap. And he's going to do that over and over the coming 5 and 10 years. So if you have a 2-year outlook, 40, 50 bucks, I'm very confident. If you want to pay attention to price and be a savvy trader, after a 300-400% move off last year's lows, you want to pull back into the low 20s.
Okay. And I'm looking at the chart here. I've got 20.5 as your 50-day moving average and 22 as the 20-day moving average.
Exactly.
I think that area there makes pretty good entry for that.
Very,
okay.
Very viable.
Great breakdown there. Great win. Thanks for sharing that with us. You're obviously impacting our community as well. So hats off to you for that. I do have a specific question here. Do you have any thoughts on Netflix? Speaking of being a savvy trader, you got any thoughts on how to actually trade this name?
So I was long into the print. I had bought some at 89 and 90. And I said, this is going to be an investment. I'm pretty comfortable with it. I just, I know a lot of people in that industry, a couple top media guys, and they've always from day one said, listen, just don't play around. Like Netflix is a buy and hold forever. They own the space. Before we found out that the competition meant nothing, they told me it meant nothing. So I was like, now's my chance. And every time I went to 91, 92, it was like a week or two ago before the numbers, I would trim some and say, stock into the print. I don't want to be too big. Then they came out with numbers, and it was like, to me, it was like ho-hum. I was like, they're not bad, but they're not growth numbers. And this takeover, well, it makes it dead money. That I knew even when I bought it. I said, this is a dead money investment, but whether the deal doesn't get done, the stock pops, or eventually people say there's too much value. So bottom line, when I saw 84, 85, it wasn't lower than 84. I said, guys, based on this number, I'm going to take a loss with the rest of what I have. Because it was dead money, now it's 2 times dead money. So here's what I have to say. If you have a year outlook, you dollar cost average this the next 5-10%, and you put Netflix away because it's a monopoly and no one's going to touch it. Now you have live sports. So as a company looking out 6 months to a year, sure, there are going to be a lot of people who say, what the hell's wrong with me? Why didn't I buy that? If you're charting this and looking for a bottom, I don't think it's there short term. But, investing and trading aren't always remotely similar. So really like it next year or two out. But till this deal is either denied or accomplished, this is like this cloud. And I didn't feel like dealing with it. So I just said, all right.
Okay, so that's absolutely amazing. A couple of things here. When we've been talking about Netflix, I'm thinking that I've been saying here that this is going to trade better when that entire deal is resolved. But we did have one gentleman here in our chat who thinks exactly like you. Said there's no competition here. Netflix is a great company, and he's just going to dollar cost average it. I hope he's dancing on the table because it's literally what you just said about that. You guys have the exact same trade plan.
How many monopolies are there in, this is not like he's making silly dough or Play-Doh. Media is how we live.
Yeah. Right? And you're not worried about Amazon Prime and Hulu.
It's probably become one of the most important entertainment companies. It's only becoming more important to everyone as they expand to, I didn't even watch it yet. The guy who went up the building, half of my texts were, did you watch that guy? I almost had a heart attack. Yeah. Right? I didn't even watch it yet. So we'll look back. And frankly, people used to say that about Disney. We know things changed for obvious reasons. People went off TV and they went to Netflix. Right now, Netflix is in charge of so many lives. I mean, could you imagine if Netflix just disappeared tomorrow? A lot of people would be really frustrated.
I was going to say you'd have a lot of really angry folks.
That bill, and that Paramount dude makes a lot of great shows, but there's only like 7 or 8 of them. So even though he makes a lot of them, right, the Yellowstone guy, it's not enough to fill in the hole. So yeah, long term, you want to.
Okay. One of our comments here, how is Netflix a monopoly? You have Hulu, Amazon, Apple, and more. It sounds like you're not worried about any of those competitors really challenging
you know all the facts, my friend. So I always tell people Apple has some of the best shows, hands down, right? Ted Lasso and some of this stuff. How many of them? There's like 8 or 9 of them that are great. Hulu, how many? Like, okay, Handmaids and a few others. So you just answered, right? Netflix has between 4 and 5 superstar shows every quarter. Mm-hmm. It's a monopoly. The numbers prove it. I mean, just look at the viewership. It's not even close. You can go to Overstock and buy some stuff. You can buy on Amazon too. Do you think about Overstock on a daily basis? Right? Do you
that's a really good
on a daily basis? No. Amazon owns your life. Now, is Amazon a monopoly? Technically, no. But is it own the industry? Yes. Same thing with Netflix. Oh, I mean, no, I mean, it's not a monopoly, but by the way, it's close enough or else there wouldn't be an issue with this deal, would there be?
Yeah. Okay. Really good stuff. David, one last thing here. You kind of hinted on this. We'll get you out of here on this. Give me some of your thoughts on some of these metals. The silver move, the gold move. How are you approaching this? Are you simply avoiding it? Is this similar to the memory names where you're just buying the dips? What do you think here on some of these metals?
There's a difference there. So I want to make sure that this is said, because I saw a guy who's well known, big following yesterday, and he said on Twitter, or X, he said, face it, if you're shorting silver, it's because you missed the long. And I really thought, what a schmuck. Some of my biggest wins, and some traders who are bigger than me, guys running $200-300 million books, I know some of their biggest wins are on the short side because those, amazing reversals of like bubbles could make a year. So I've been on the short side recently, but not because I missed it. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not unhappy I didn't buy silver in 30 and just sit on my butt, right? Yeah, I wish I did, but I deal with the today. So I'm looking at gold and silver, and the first thing I've done is say, gold to me is very different. It's central bank driven, and there is so much mistrust. And I went through this yesterday with my chat. I said, listen, there's a lot of mistrust in the US. And right now, doubt, even things like Minnesota, the US of A's balance sheet, it's actually making people trade differently. And someone said to me, but that's been the case for years. And we're in better shape than other people. I said, when it matters, you never know. That story, right? Ray Dalio's story about the breakup of America and the breakdown and the trust and the shifts of the world, talking about, a crash and you got to own the metals. That's been out there. We never know when the market says, aha, now I care. Well, they've cared slowly for weeks. That's why the metals have outperformed. And now in the past month, I think it's a signal to be the F careful because something is changing. You don't see moves like this without something being wrong underneath. I wish I could tell you I'm smart enough to say, and this is what. My gut is it's truly a change in how people look at the dollar, the trust they have in the US, the fact that our president, and I'm not even political, but one day is 100% tariffs and the next day they're making fun of him and saying it's a Taco Tuesday. I believe the trust of the US and our almighty dollar, which has run the world for so many years, is no longer the same as it was, and that's the reason. So here's how I played it. Said, listen, you need these overbought, not cute moves. You need these people screaming at you that supply and demand is not there. We know, right? Everywhere. If you have half of a brain by now, yes, we know there's a lack of supply in silver. We hear all about it. Yeah, we know people are buying it. $15, buying a hard metal, $15 above where it's trading here in China, right? You hear all those stories. And people are screaming, you don't short, the world's going to end. And I wait for those moments, right? And unless I feel them, I say I'm willing to miss the trade. So on last Friday, right, I said, listen, too many people are looking to short that move on silver into 100. Those trades don't work. I'd rather miss it. If it works, rock stars for them. This thing's going to blow through 100. It's going to create a squeeze like we've never seen, maybe 110, maybe 120. I don't know. I either miss the trade or on Monday, when everyone's screaming at me, don't step in, I'm going to step the F in. I am going to be down some money because I was down on my SMCI short. I was down on my MicroStrategy short. I was down on my Tilray short, and many people have followed me in this. But that's where I've made some of my biggest trades, and none of them, not one of them did I take the top. I took within 3-5%. But I could be down 30 points in SMCI to make 200 points a day later. Like, there's some pain. And if you don't, and I said, so if you need to catch the top, if you can't feel a little pain, if you can't be uncomfortable, don't do this trade. There's some dangerous stuff going on. But I feel for the first time a sense of insanity. I'm getting into it. So I got sized, not at the top. I wish I could say so. It's about 103, and then finally got my average cost to the high 104s on SLV. Well, I saw almost 107. I'm not going to tell you I didn't. I was like, oh, you've been preaching about how you won't get the top. And then once it turned, took a little off as we got to 100. But I said, guys, you don't go through that pain, right? You don't go through that to not make real money. So you got to hang in there. because we really can go 95, 92. After hours, I saw 95 to 93 last night, maybe 92, 90. I covered 90% of the trade. I said, what a week, what a month. And I thank my lucky stars. I said, I'm not going to pretend that's the top because I'm not smart enough, guys. And then today I see this again. I imagine after yesterday's action, it's more a sell the pop today. Bottom line, I think silver needs to calm down. But if it keeps going, I wouldn't be shocked. I am looking for those types of trades in metals. And if we pull back enough, I mean 25, 30%, sure on the low side. But to me, just being down 10 or 15 off highs, that's not a real pullback in silver. We've never seen anything like this. So you got to be patient on the long side, in my opinion. You want to scalp it, that's another thing. So that's how I played it yesterday. Today, I wouldn't be shocked if we see at least 98 or 99 again on SLV. But yesterday it was my focus because you need everything to come together. Everything probably doesn't come together for a short like that, either till we get closer to that high yesterday or till we go through it and get a bit higher, like towards 120. So.
Okay. Absolutely phenomenal. Just really quickly here, 25% from where we're currently at puts the price at about 75.81. So we're right in that 75 handle if we get that. David, absolutely phenomenal job here today. I appreciate the extra time that you gave us and our group here today. Get David Prince's 2026 game plan live on February 2nd. You can scan the QR code here on the screen. We put the link in the chat. David, thank you. Look forward to catching up with you next time. All right.
I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a great day.
You as well. David Prince from T3. All of those guys are excellent. Really good stuff. I love that one of his calls ended up making this group a whole bunch of money. Absolutely phenomenal. Looks like he did take a pretty decent silver short there. We'll keep bringing all of these guys back. Really, really, really good stuff there from our group. Okay, really quickly, before we get 13 on here, let's go ahead and take a quick look at our street tweets for today. All right, let's see what we got here. Here we go. I laughed when I selected this one here today. Jim Cramer, this was a tweet yesterday. I am a huge gold bug, but I am not a silver bug. If there were no sentimental value to it, I would try to cash in on my family's silver. It's getting ridiculous. So this is a really good time. Do you think that this is ridiculous? Do you think that silver now trades up another 25 handles because Jim Cramer said it's getting ridiculous? We just had David here that said, look, it does look extended, but I wouldn't be surprised if this traded up again. Maybe inverse Cramer here. Are you following Cramer here? What's the move? What's the move here? Lion says that's bullish for gold. Okay, well, there we go. Jim Cramer. Huge gold bug, not a silver bug. We'll see if silver finishes in the green here today. How many of you also think this is ridiculous? Next tweet, producer. It is related. This one comes from the Kobisi letter. One of the largest intraday reversals in history. Silver has completely erased its 14% gain and turned red on the day. Erased 900 billion in market cap in 90 minutes. Again, another well-timed tweet here. Looks like David hit this short on silver. So let me know what you folks are thinking here. Is this the top in silver? Did we see a candle here? Do we get another push higher here? What's the next move on silver? How are you trading it? What are you looking to gain exposure to? So really good stuff there. Kobisi letter and Jim Cramer making the rounds here today on Street Tweets. All right, folks, it's time for 13. We're going to talk about all of the movers there. Let's get started with our pre-market pulse. 13, good morning. Happy Tuesday. How are you doing here today?
Just trying to stay warm, and I think that'll be just fine because the coldest is now past us.
Okay.
How's everybody? Is everybody else staying warm?
Yeah, I mean, it's still cold here, but nothing we can't handle. Us Northerners are used to this whole thing, so not the end of the world at all. But indeed, we are. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the movers here today. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right, we're going to get started here. One on the top of the list, the stock that's on the top of my gappers list here today is ticker NUWE. This is Nuwellis. You can see this stock closed at about 215 yesterday. We did pop in the after hours till 3 and hold a majority of that. But the big move on big volume happening again here this morning. We actually had 2 impulse moves that took us higher. Here's why it rocketed today. Let's see what we have here. I don't have anything fresh in the news feed here. And is my story not loading here today?
If there's only one thing I could think of, and it was, I only saw the news from Friday, so I don't know exactly why we're getting this move here. But
yeah, I don't see anything either.
So, if it's regarding the board changes and the capital raise in relation to the board changes, where if I read this correctly, it seems like the 2 people they hired are tied to a $5 million investment, which if it doesn't materialize, they'll resign. So a little bit of a weird thing there. They have cash for 1 quarter. They have some revenue, but they're going to need to raise capital. Probably the biggest reason that I would say this is moving is because it's just one of those low float names that can get, picked up and tossed around by people with a lot of money. So with a 876,000 share float, probably what we're seeing a lot of here is just the ability to push this around. I didn't notice anything that was necessarily driving this, but it is in the healthcare space, and that we with the equipment and supplies, and we do believe that that's going to have a pretty decent year. So as far as the chart goes, this is currently getting some support from the 65 EMA. Trying to turn back up towards the VWAP, which I have at 515. I think I want to see what's going to happen up at that VWAP. If it's going to be able to break through and get through, I think I would be looking at the 565 area. Okay. If we can't get through that, we might just form a head and shoulders pattern and come right back in. So going to need to see what happens here up at VWAP if we can get through that and that 565 area and continue forward above 6 like we did earlier than the pre-market.
Okay, we'll see if the 65 EMA holds here. Indeed, this is under a million shares in the float. Carlos here. Nuwellis announces issuance of new U.S. patent supporting advanced safety design for pediatric extracorporeal therapy. Is that new here? Did we just get that a second ago?
No, that's from way earlier this month.
Yeah, this is from January 6th, Carlos. January 6th. I don't think that's playing into today's movement.
No.
Okay. Good stuff there. NUWE. Next here is going to be IVF. And this is actually one that we've seen quite a bit move quite a bit recently. Looks like we're getting another pop here. This was holding at about 121, closed at 121 yesterday, had an impulse move that immediately got sold back down here in the pre-market, but now it looks like it's really picking up here and doing so on some high volume. We had news after hours yesterday that it expands its share authorization and equity flexibility here. So perhaps that's what's driving this here, about 67%. Quick peek at the short interest on this, 0.44% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover, comes on an average volume of 5.8 million shares, done 25 million here today. Float much thicker on this one, though, 15 instead of the sub million shares. What do you got here on IVF?
Yeah, that's Form 8 that you see there at this past 5 yesterday. It has all the details in there. I didn't get through reading all of it, so I'm not exactly sure about what this expansion of the share authorization and equity flexibility is. It's one of the points that was voted on. So it's all in the Form 8. I don't have an exact reason what exactly it's going off of from that result, but the company still needs cash, so it makes sense if they're going to be talking about raising capital. I think the share expansion was like from 6.25 million to like 250 million. So they should be raising a lot of capital here if that's the case. And they do need cash, like I said. Current float is 15.12 million, so they're going to see a large expansion of that. I do have this, running up to some previous levels I've had here since we have traded this before, and it looks like the last time we traded wasn't that long ago. It looks like this week.
Yeah, January 20th here. We actually stopped at 5. It's really been leaking the entire time since then. This now back to $2. So what do you think's next here, 13?
I think that this is going to be another one of those pop and drops.
Okay, so you think we might see the same type of action? You know, it is worth noting that the last time we had this, it did start to give some of it back near the end of the pre-market. It ripped one time out of the open, and that was the bull trap, because the rest of the day the thing sold off. So that's something you want to look for here today. Not sure if you want to play that one, but just be careful. Make sure you don't get trapped in something like that.
Yeah, and you know, if they're already talking about issuing more shares, it's just going to dilute the entire share structure of the company. So that's going to pull it down. They are going to have a lot more cash as a result, and they need it. But I don't think they had a whole lot of revenue. Yeah, only 1.7 million. So I think it's just going to be one of those things where you get maybe goes on a bit of a run out of the gate here for a period of time, and then it just starts selling off some more because we have that event coming. So maybe it does the same thing as last time. It goes up or it opens a little bit high. Well, if we didn't actually get that high enough, we need to get up to 3 if we're going to open above the 65 EMA. But that 65 EMA, we opened above it, ran up to over 4, and then came right back in the rest of the day. So I don't think this is one I'd be hanging on to. Yeah, I just would, if it sets up, trade it, but don't hang on to it.
Yeah, I am looking at the chart here just from the recent move that we put in here. 270 actually looks to be a spot. Maybe we challenge that here today. I'd give that as one of the targets. But okay, really good stuff here. Next is going to be PHGE. That is your ticker here, PHGE. This is Biome X, and this popped big yesterday in the after hours. Now it's still holding higher here by about 47.5%. We had a 13D filing showing Pew Capital. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm trying. Reports a 19.99% stake in the company as of December 26th. So a huge stake here, just about 20%. And for all intents and purposes, it is 20%. That's driving the stock higher here. By the way, real quick, because we don't talk about this one a whole lot, this is engaged in developing both natural and engineered phage cocktails and personalized treatments designed to target and destroy harmful bacteria in chronic diseases, including cystic fibrosis and diabetic foot osteomyelitis. Okay, so
well done.
Yeah, I'm just as surprised as you are. 13. Quick peek at the short interest on this one. 4.28% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. Comes on an average volume of 370,000 shares. We've done 6.3 million here today. But the important note on this one, the float is 1.5 million here. So stocks up by about 53%. What do you think? Think we get a trade here on PHGE? It's right at that 65 EMA.
Well, is it?
I have on the 5 minute. I have it.
I have it as under. Oh, really? I have it as 673 on my broker. Well, that's okay. Well, whatever. The thing that's concerning me is that I think the move already may have happened after hours when we got the news. So in the after hours, we ran up to 1089, and we've been kind of coming down ever since. We haven't. We've lost the VWAP. We lost the 65 EMA. Try to get back above it. No avail yet. We did lose the 200 EMA, but we recaptured it. So that's a good sign. We might actually get some more upside trade as we approach the open, and maybe even after the open. But as we get up to the 65 EMA and the VWAP, those are going to be the big areas of resistance. I think it's right in the same area with this 675 support and resistance area. So I think that we could see some upside here. 7 is going to, let's see, maybe 7, maybe a little bit higher into 7. There's just a lot of resistance levels on the way back up. 7's one of them, 750 is another, and then 8, it's like every 50 cents. I think this is starting to turn around. So we might see some continued upside into the open, but getting above those, the moving average in that VWAP is going to, be paramount in order to
what do you have higher. Your VWAP at, just out of curiosity?
677.
God, I've got it at 743. I don't know why our numbers are so different today.
Brokers.
That I don't know. I mean, normally they're a lot closer. That's odd. That's definitely odd.
But this you have a lot of levels you can draw upon from all the price action yesterday. From for where the ups or where the resistance is. From here. And it seems like it's every 50 cents. So we'll see if that's the case. I didn't cover this one. This was there were some others that are above it. but now they've since gone down. So it's let this one come rising up, even though it's pretty sold off pretty well since the 1089 print. But maybe this comes back. I didn't dive into this one, so I don't have a whole lot for you aside from the technicals.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there nonetheless. Next one here is going to be GNTA. This is Janata Science. This thing looked like they had a huge pop to 260 and retraced about 80% of the move here. I actually didn't see if there was news on this, but I'll go ahead and check. Indeed there is. So Janata announces a strategic transformation into a biotech, defense, aerospace, and national security industrial consolidator with plan to rebrand to Santra Forge. Okay.
And they're going to sue Inatech Biomedical.
Okay.
So I guess they need to stay busy.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never seen a headline quite like this one before.
Right.
Not necessarily sure what to make of it. Stock is higher here still by about 30%. Looking at the short interest here, 0.47% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. On average, stock trades 702,000 shares. Today, it's traded 48 million shares. Float on this one's 16.5 million. What do you think? You think we get a trade here? This to me also, by the way, looks like it's finding some support at the 65 EMA.
Yeah, I get the sense just looking at the financials that they're going to have to raise capital soon. No revenue. They burn a little more than 4 million quarter. I'm sorry, no, they have a little bit more than $4 million in the bank, and they burn, I think, 8 a year. Over 8 a year. So they're going to have to raise capital at some point. Might not have to be right away this current quarter, but it's going to have to be at some point soon. Looking at the chart, sorry, this is another one I didn't go over. The other one that I went over was HIND. If you want to cover that one later,
yeah, definitely.
But with GNTA, we're it's kind of similar to the last chart we just looked at. This lost its 200 EMA, it's recaptured it, trying to get back above the 65 EMA and the VWAP. So this is just like the last one. We need to see the recapture of those the moving average and the VWAP. We need to not be hitting this 200 EMA again. Because it gives me the sense that this is still, too weak and it could continue lower. But if we manage to get this support here and we start trading up into the open, just watch for that recapture of the VWAP. And we can start looking at some levels that would take us higher. We have all the price action from the after hours to draw upon for levels. And it looks like $2 could be one. It looks like 230 is another. The really big one I think we need to get over is just, maybe about 250, maybe 250, 255. Yeah. That's where we've kind of topped out at and have no closes above. So that's kind of what I'd be looking at here, is to see if we can just, recapture the 65 EMA and the VWAP into the open.
Okay, we will get to HIND here. We will also get to RR and BZAI. Should have plenty of time. But the next one here on the list is going to be CYN. This is Syngin. This actually had some pretty good volume here today. Closed at $2, popped above 350 here today. It's coming back in a little bit, but not breaking down like some of the others that we've seen here. Triple vehicles ordered. Excuse me, I'm having a really rough time this morning, 13. I don't know what's wrong with me. Syngin triples vehicles ordered year over year. The Drive Mod Tugger sales in 2025 reflecting rapid enterprise adoption. So basically between 2024 and 2025, this company's vehicle sales tripled. They're releasing that information here today. It's driving the stock higher by 33.5%. Quick peek at the short interest on this name, 12.46% of the float shorted with 1.15 days to cover. On average, it trades only like 330,000 shares, done 57 million here today. More importantly, the float is 7.2 million on this one. So not as low as some of these really low floaters that we like to trade, but can still move around pretty good here today. I have this settling above the 65 EMA. We'll see if we make a move back to the VWAP. I've currently got that right at 3. What do you think on this one, 13?
I didn't know about this company until just now, so I'm just trying to, catch up as quickly as I can. Seems like this company.
I feel like we've traded this one before, but maybe not off the story. Yeah,
we might have, and so that's I probably should take that back. I think we may have, but I didn't recall what this was. What this actually does is it creates software and I guess some hardware for being able to turn a vehicle into an autonomous vehicle. I looked at their website briefly. They've got a lot of forklifts and warehouse vehicles driving around, but they look like they could, a human could drive it too. So it looks like this is a it would make sense with a product called Drive Mod, that you just basically take it and you put it into an existing vehicle, and now it's autonomous. So interesting stuff. You're seeing triple the sales. Kind of makes me think that this is getting some major traction in the in warehousing. So it's very interesting. I don't know a whole lot beyond that. Maybe we'll have to look into this some more. As far as the chart goes, let me look at your CYN. This also looks like it's trying to turn back up. I think there's going to be some resistance at about 290. So we're approaching some resistance here. I see a large seller in the way just beneath 3, and I have VWAP at 309. So those are the next 3 areas I think we need to keep an eye on. Is if we can get above this 290 area, take out that seller just beneath 3, and recapture the VWAP at 309. Those would be the next upside resistance areas. And it looks like, according to the MACD, the momentum is starting to swing to the upside. So we'll see if that continues.
Okay. Ryan says, I think I remember a reverse split with them. We'll use Benzinga Pro to check that out. Indeed, in 2025, so last year in February, we did a 1 for 150 reverse.
Yeah.
So just about a year ago now. And
then a 1 for 100 the year before.
So are we going to get another? Are we going to get another coming up here in February? I don't think so.
Let's look and see what their financials are like. They're still losing tens of millions of dollars every year. Let me go to a quarterly here.
Yeah, they are.
So they're losing 8.4 a quarter. They have 4.8 in the bank, so they're probably going to have to raise some capital here soon. Having a float of 7.24 million. They could expand that some more with some more shares if it gets them the capital they need. But that's what I'd be, wary of, that they need that cash. Okay.
Next one here. This is the one that you're ready for. This is Hind. Maybe it's doing a Hind here as it took off and crashed back to earth. Yikes. Anyway, stock here closed at about $3. We printed above 7 earlier today. We've come all the way back in again to that 65 EMA. We'll see if that holds here. Let's take a look at the news on this one. Viome shares Viome shares are moving higher. The company highlights independent analysis valuation of its drug Viome. I'll have you take a look at that here in a sec. That was a phase 3 study, by the way.
No,
short interest. What?
No, it wasn't. It was phase 2.
It's doesn't it just? Did it just say?
It says its valuation is 1 billion is upon successful completion.
I'm sorry.
3.
Okay,
I'll get to that though. I'll get to that.
Okay, I'm just going to turn this over to you. It's been a rough morning for me.
You're all good, dude.
I'm going to go to the washroom. I'll be right back.
All right. So this news comes as the an independent analysis highlighted the valuation of VT 1953, which is their drug in development that just finished phase 2. Finished that back in, I think they announced the results. It was like last year, in like in November or October. It looks like it was December. Okay, so December they announced their phase 2 results. Now, what they're referring to with upon successful phase 3 completion, that phase 3 hasn't started yet. That's not expected to start until the second half of 2026. And they're not expecting to get results from that until 2027. And for now, they're in the process of raising capital for that. And they do need cash. So this is another one that be very, very careful with. I don't think that we're going to get a lot of, a whole lot of upside. Because they still have to raise that capital. They still have to go through the entire phase 3 study, and that's going to take time. And they haven't even started it yet. So I don't see a whole lot of upside right now. The news sounds great, but they got to get through that phase 3, and that's not going to happen until towards the end of the year. And even then, they, that's just going to be results. They have to bring it to market still. So there's still a long, long ways to go with HIND. We could see another reverse split with this one. We're going to see more capital raises. So for me, I just wanted to, I looked into this one, thought that this was interesting. VT 1953 sounds like it's going to be a great product if it makes it through phase 3. It's actually a gel to help, cancer patients with a, what is the, I got it right here, with Malodor. It's a malignant fungating wound. So, yeah, so that's what this gel is for, the VT 1953. But as I said, they haven't started phase 3. That's not going to be until the second half of this year, and they're not expecting results until toward the end of 2027. Long ways to go. They're going to need to raise capital. They're going to dilute their share structure again.
Okay. Be warned. You were warned. Good stuff there. 13 on HIND. Hind. Okay, couple more here. NTLA, this is Intellia Therapeutics. This is one of the gene editors that we've traded before on a lot of the gene editing news. This getting another big pop here, albeit on not the hugest volume here. Looks like 1750 was the resistance area on this one. Intellia Therapeutics announces FDA removes the clinical hold on its investigational new drug application for Magnitude 2 phase 3 clinical study of one of its complicated drugs there. So this looks like Intellia is up 24% as the FDA lifts the hold on the phase 3 study. We'll see if we can get any more than that. Stock's up almost 21% now. Short interest on this name, extremely high and likely driving some of this price action. 40.26% of the float shorted with 13 plus days to cover, high on both accounts there. On average, stock trades 7 million shares. It's done 2.23 million here today. The float is 100 million plus, about 103. What do you think here, NTLA 13?
So my thought on the news is that, hey, great that we can actually, finish deploying the capital that we set aside for this phase 3 trial and not have it hung up in limbo. Where if we, I don't know what the reason was for the hang up. If they
it was for a patient dying, I believe.
Oh, is this that was this one?
Yeah. I'm trying to go through this here.
Oh, so yeah, because that was that was pretty bad news. And if they were going to have to stop their clinical trials, that would have been a pretty sizable loss because they spend all this capital getting to phase 3, and it's gets pricier with every phase. So I could see that's why I see this as a good thing. It's like, okay, well, all that work that they did, they're not going to have to either undo or trash. So that's how I'm viewing this. It's as a good that they're going to be able to continue with using that money the way it was intended. But I'd have to look into more of this. I was just about to search to see when they expect to finish this phase 3 study. So if you want to give me a little bit, I could try and get some more answers. But I didn't read into this. I think there's a lot to read into here when it comes to this company. So I don't have a whole lot more for you there. I also noticed that the short interest is quite high. And I think it's because of that that you just mentioned, that patient.
Yeah, Zach here said they had a patient death, thus the hold. Thank you, Zach.
Okay, thank you.
I'm in here looking for the actual thing on that. I can't find it here.
Yeah, 40% of the float shorted, 13, almost 14 days to cover. So we could be squeezing here.
Okay.
NTLA. Let's look at the technicals here. We've been hanging above VWAP. Go ahead.
The patient was hospitalized, is being closely monitored and receiving medical intervention. So this was back all the way from October here. There might have been another PR there. But nonetheless here, that's exactly what was going on here. Zach, appreciate you. Appreciate you looking that up. Okay, so stocks up here 19%. It's doing a good job holding above its VWAP. Really think 1750 is going to be that area. We'll see if we pop that and go higher. Looking at the daily chart here, let's see exactly we're at 16. So we are in this huge gap. This gap doesn't fill to about 25.
Looks like they are still expected to finish enrollment for phase 3 in the first half of 2026. So they're still a ways away.
Okay.
From finishing that. All right.
Okay. All right. Really quick here. We're running out of time. RR. This is another one. Someone in the group wanted to actually see this one here this morning as well. RR. This is Rich Tech Robotics. We've actually traded this one a number of times off of the scanner and off some of the robot headlines that we've got. Looks like we had an impulse move that took us up to 450. We very quickly lost the VWAP. And what's notable here is we've been unable to recapture that VWAP. Rich Tech Robotics collaborates with Microsoft to advance agentic AI and real-world robotic applications. It's a hands-on collaboration with Microsoft through Microsoft's AI co-innovation labs to jointly develop and deploy agentic AI capabilities in real-world robotic systems. Tell you what, that actually reads pretty well here. I would want to go through the rest of this. and to see what some of the practical real world use cases that they're talking about are. We're able to join the capabilities that strengthen reliability, enhance customer retention, and support scalable automation processes across physical environments. So pretty good PR here. At least it reads pretty well. Stocks up by 11+%. Short interest on this name, not nothing. 19.68% of the float shorted with only 1.65 days to cover. So it's definitely shorted, but not a huge days to cover. The float, on the other hand, 172.6 million. On average, stock trades 28 million shares. It's done half of that here in the pre-market. Looks like, again, going back to the chart here, looks like it lost the VWAP, tried again to recapture the VWAP, was unsuccessful, and now it looks like it's hunting new lows. I'd be curious to know what your next spot down is. Looking at the 5-minute chart here, I'm thinking 410 or 4-ish is probably next.
That's interesting you say that. If you back out a little bit more and look at the price action from the past 2 days, look at what we did on Friday, and then look what we had in the pre-market on Monday before we lost that $4 level. So I like that $4 level.
Yeah,
we were using it as support for 2 days before we lost it, and now we just recaptured it. So if we are going to come back down, and it looks like right now we are, we do have the 65 EMA first, but the 200 EMA, which is at about our $4 area, is not too far behind. So if we are going to continue to sink here, I think that that's a pretty good area for support. Don't know if we're going to go lower or not, but I would be leaning on $4 as an area where we might see buyers step in.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. Rich Tech Robotics. Okay. Last one on here, RDW. So we saw Redwire get hit yesterday. They had some news here this morning. Redwire stock has given up its prior gain. It's actually still higher, but it's given up some of it. It's off its highs. Redwire shares are trading higher after the company announced it bagged up to $151 billion contract from Missile Defense Agency's multi-vendor shield IDEEC to support homeland defense. That sounds awesome. It sounds like that's a huge contract here. This thing did pop, like I mentioned, up to about 13, retracing some of that move here. Quick peek at the short interest on this name. We don't look at it often. 19.02% of the float shorted with 1.38 days to cover. Float's 113 million. We're almost at the average volume prior to the open here. What do you think on Redwire? You've been all over this one, 13.
Massive contract. I think I'd want to know if the money's going to act. Where's the money? Is this still tied to the budget that we have not passed yet? That is at risk of maybe not getting passed until everybody gets what they want out of the big beautiful bill. I think this was Shield IDIQ.
Mm-hmm. I said IDEEC, but it is IDIQ.
I think I might like IDEEC better, but so 151 billion. That's absolutely massive, and it's well over the valuation of the company. But I think we're seeing the selling here because it's a question of whether or not where the money's coming from and whether or not that's available right away. Because like I said, the passage needs to happen. I don't know about this one right now. Maybe there's some support coming at the 65 EMA, which we're almost down to. But I really don't know what to what to think here, because that's a massive number, and we haven't seen that budget pass yet. So
we're saying if it's too good to be true, it most likely is.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of saying it, because I'm really skeptical that we're gonna just blast off from here when we don't know if the money's even there yet. I think that this will probably end up going once we have a clearer picture of a budget getting passed. But this might provide some trades today. So let's see what happens when we get down to the 65 EMA. If that doesn't work, there's a 200 beneath it. And if that doesn't work, then we can just wait for the bill to get passed, and that might provide a better trade. So
okay, we are open. Sorry, I just wanted to finish that up there. Jupiter says he doesn't see anything he likes. Let's take a look and see Boeing here. That also reported this morning. Looks like that's lower here. Looks like some of those healthcare names are still going lower. NTLA, which is what we just talked about. Let's take a look at that real quick. Okay, so NTLA so far holding the VWAP. I might have said that too soon. I don't want to get ahead of myself there.
Yeah, while you're mentioning United Health, I'm glad you didn't have that one either.
Yeah, me too.
I was telling folks in happy hour that I didn't like United Health. They had a lot of headwinds against it, including the Medicare Advantage
Yep.
and the fraud, and so I was just, we had a gentleman out in there that was looking into this, and I was like, I don't know about this, and there's probably better stuff out there, and I gave the reasons why, and then we got this news. So health insurance isn't really attractive to me right now. I do like
I don't blame you.
medical devices and pharma and biotech. I think those are in a much better space right now, but in health insurance, I'm not so excited about.
Okay, PHGE, this is halted to the upside, 655. Now, it was right before it actually got to that 65 EMA. We'll see if we can get back above that. Looking pretty good, though. Nice little pop there. PHGE, I'm probably going to screw that ticker up, too.
Looks like IVF trying to push up through 210 again.
Here's IVF. NTLA is coming back in. Here is IVF right at 2. I'm almost thinking 13. Maybe we have a little bit of a trend line here at the top of the pre-market action. We'll see.
Yeah, I just have my level at 210 here. This is where we ran up to, couldn't close over it. We did print up to as high as 218, but I'd be looking for a breakthrough 210. It takes us up to around 240.
Okay.
We'll see if we end up getting the volume for that.
Looking across the market here real quick. Apple higher, looks like it's trying to recapture 260. Netflix moving lower down into an 84 handle. And Tesla actually selling off as well here. I didn't notice any Tesla options come across the wire, but Tesla here moving to the lows.
NUWE, that's actually getting a lift out of the gate here. Still kind of struggling, but aside from, it's this one and IVF that have the that are actually trying to go higher here. Everything else just absolutely sank out of the gate.
Yeah, it sure did.
Metella went straight to hella. The red wire is lower. Rich
Ryan,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ryan thinks BZAI is about to make a run. Let's take a look at that. That's Blaze Holdings.
It's got AI in the name.
This is actually rolling over here. Don't love adding this here.
Yeah, that looks like a lot of the ones we looked at this morning already. It looks, which one does it look similar to? There was one that it looked really similar. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of coming in here. Maybe it finds support down around this 185 area.
Really quickly here, what up, Doe? Asking this question: what effect do you guys anticipate the government shutdown this Friday will have in the markets? Well, first of all, that's not confirmed yet. I think you're talking about a potential government shutdown. If it's anything like the last one, I'm ready for another 10%. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Does anyone have? I'm not trading for the government shut. Like, I'm not positioning for a potential shutdown. I'm not doing anything like leading up to that. But I'd be curious if any of you are, or in what you're doing for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a real desire to avoid a shutdown this time around. Even though this market kind of is extended and could benefit from a correction. So if that ends up happening, then I think that'll just present some opportunities for us. But if it's avoided, then we'll probably end up just climbing higher. And I think those defense names that have been getting a lot of contracts, I think that's they're going to get some more attention, because I think the belief will be that those outlandish contracts are going to get funded.
Okay. What up, Doe? Let me know what you're doing. Are you trading for that? Are you positioning for that, or are you simply waiting for that, and then you're going to take a position based on how the market reacts? Let me know. It's a decent discussion topic, to be honest.
Red wire reversing, climbing back up, recapturing, trying to recapture view up right now.
Now, I'm thinking about it. I know you had said red wire here is a long-term hold. Anyone looking to trade this in the short term?
Oh, there should be plenty of opportunities to trade it in the short term, like right now.
Yeah, it's going through the VWAP here. Let's see if we can actually get to 13 on that.
But here's the thing: the momentum is now reversing and starting to swing to the upside. So if we get a continuation, we're going to blow past $13.
Net here, this is Cloudflare. This actually looks like this might try and go to 220. USAR is getting mentioned here in the chat. This thing's spiking out of the open here. Remember, we actually saw this one. We talked about this yesterday. Very disappointing after that initial pop. Really didn't give another opportunity. Here we're basically right at the top end of what this did in the regular session. So let's see if this can break through 30 here, USAR. No position on this one for me. Looking at the broader market here, when we first signed on here, the Dow was weak. the SPY was green and the NASDAQ was green. That is still the case here. Dow down 0.75%, SPY's up 0.16%. That's come in a little bit. And the NASDAQ coming in pretty sharply. That was much higher by about 0.6% here in the pre-market. That's now retraced about half of that, only up by 0.3%.
IVF rejected at the 210 area. That's coming back down. Momentum is swinging to the downside. This looks like we could be going down towards, well, I think the first stop's going to be down around 170. And if we continue further, the 65 EMA is at 150, so we could hit that as well.
Okay, and NUWE, we traded up to the VWAP. We could not get through the VWAP, and we stopped. This looks like this is going to retest 450, which I currently have as the 65 EMA, so no follow through there. PHGE is unhalted. This is now going through that 65 EMA. Next stop here, VWAP at 725.
So my VWAP's a little bit different, but the next area I see where this could run to is 740. That's where we were. We lost that level in the early morning hours of the pre-market. Tried to recapture that all pre-market, couldn't, and then we got rejected. That took us down underneath the 200 EMA. So here we are trying to come back above it. I think that 740 area is going to be a big breakout spot. Looking at, okay, so of all the different areas I see where there's sellers in the way, 710 and 740 have the largest concentration of sellers.
Okay, good stuff there, PHGE. And by the way, the good stuff, thinking about it, I know that you had made a joke that I got that from my pot dealer, which is not the case. Every time that the sports radio show that I listen to here in Chicago, when they interview a player or a coach that provides some insight that is interesting, they always say good stuff. I've kind of adopted that to my own interviews. When I hear something that I like, or when I see something that I like here, it's kind of my go-to for that. It has nothing to do with drugs. Thinking about it.
Red Wire is trying to hit $13 here, trying to push through it.
There you go. Really good stuff. I actually should have played this one with you. Good there. Register ring. We're approaching that 13 handle. We'll see if this pops above 13 or if we get rejected there again. Remember, 13 is really what sent us down in the pre-market yesterday.
So PHGE is now halted again to the upside, right at the top end of that area we were talking about. It went through 740. Now it's hanging out just beneath 750 at 749. We'll see what happens after the halt, or the unhalt, I mean. Red Wire, meanwhile, getting resistance at $13. I think you just mentioned that.
Yep. And that's what stopped it yesterday. That's the key there.
IVF still continuing to get walked down. That looks like we could continue to lower to the 65 EMA. NUWE just kind of sideways here with a matching red candle to its green one.
Just looking at some of these health players here, CVS looks like it's kind of firmed up. This is different than UNH, as UNH continues to pound lows here. Boy, hopefully nobody tried to buy that one for a bounce here. Really good breakdown on the healthcare stocks earlier. This lost 300. Now it looks like it's hunting lower. We'll see what area this firms up at. CVS looking better than this. Sorry, 13.
It's all right. Let's take a look at, because I know that we had mentioned some areas where we thought UNH could go to. Maybe 275. I see that we're filling a gap from August down to, let's see, this gap fills at about 271.50. So that's a particular, an area that we could certainly see the price go down to if we don't finish or we don't reverse or stop there. I could also see this going down to somewhere between 250 and 260.
Okay, really quickly here. Going to shout out Lion for this one, taking 128% profit on the UNH put. Really good stuff there. Great job, Lion. You've been all over that. Also, really quickly wanted to call this out. Seeing some CoreWeave sweeps here. So we talked a little bit about CoreWeave yesterday. I know that the action after that opening impulse move was quite poor. Looks like we're actually trying to take some of that back here. I'd watch 105 here on CoreWeave. But again, I saw some sweeps here. These look like 0 DTEs, right? This is 127. Yeah, so it looks like people are actively trading this around that $100 strike. Looks like they're trading it to the upside.
I was going to ask.
More CoreWeave now, 130. These are for March, excuse me.
When it comes to energy transfer, is this the type of stock you buy at the current price since the main goal is dividends? Well, if you're buying at the current price, then you're fine with where the dividend yield is at. I was wanting to get this lower, and I started my buying down when it was around in the 16 area. So we've since had a rocket away from that. So I'm not buying right now because I don't tend to buy into strength. I like to sell into it. But if this comes back in and starts trading underneath 17, then I'll be interested in it again. It's just that this is, if you look at a daily or a longer term time frame, this has been a great recovery that we've had since the lows from 2020. And I do like this one. I want to own this one. Or I do own this one, but I don't typically buy into strength, even with the dividend names. I like to buy into weakness because the yields will be better. So hopefully that answers the question. I mean, if you have a long-term prospect and you think this is going well over 20 and it's going to 30 or whatever, sure, you could buy it here and hold on to it. But look at the RSI and just look at how much we've run up in a short period of time. I think we could see some selling because we're getting into overbought territory. So that's just one reason why I don't like to necessarily buy into strength. I like to sell into it, and I like to buy into weakness.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, especially on I love selling into strength. I know it's sometimes stock goes a little bit higher, but I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that 100%.
Wisdom has another take on that as well. And
yeah, it's a K1.
You do get a K1 with that. Yeah. So
now Tim Melvin says don't necessarily avoid stuff just because of the K1, but to Wisdom's point here, to each their own, and how you end up doing your taxes. That's obviously a personal thing. So. Okay, really good stuff though. Really good stuff there.
Retro, I don't think it's the cold weather that's keeping ET higher. Now, I will recognize that the cold weather is giving the entire energy sector a lift, so they're going to probably have a relationship trade in there. But I think the reason why ET has started to go on this run is because we are seeing a lot more the Venezuela thing, Iran thing. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more crude come through the United States, and that's going to lead to lots of pipeline usage, and then also the natural gas angle for pipeline usage as well. So that energy transfer sends a lot of natural gas, so it could be part of that. But I think that it mostly has to do with our energy prospects and all the geopolitical tensions. That's really driving it a lot more. So that's what I would say is being a main driver. So maybe with the weather a little bit, but the whole energy geopolitical situation, I think that's much more why we're getting this driving.
Really quick here, Redwire. Congrats to anyone that was trading this one. Nice. Again, just talking about our conversation of selling into strength. This is now, we went right to the $13 resistance area. Now we've broken above that and gone higher. Had I have been in this trade, this is exactly where I would be selling into that strength for the short-term prospect. Redwire here, really good stuff. Thinking about it, I'm going to keep doing that just for you, by the way. Just for you. Since you commented on it, now we're going to turn it up to 11. And then day trader here, I like this. Regarding ET, might as well, when you got specific stuff on a chart like this, we'll absolutely take a look at it. So he's saying here, put on a daily chart with a 30-week SMA and buy it when it is at or below that indicator if you can wait it out. So I actually don't have that here on the chart because I have a bunch of EMAs. Let me just add this here real quick, day trader. That won't take very long at all. Let me just see where this is at. Moving average, we talked about doing this on the weekly. We'll set our length here to 30. And let's also make this a little bit easier for y'all folks to see. We'll make that line a little bit thicker. Here you go. So here's what he's saying. On the daily chart with a 30-week SMA, buy when it is at or below that indicator if you can wait it out. So it looks like what he's saying here, buy spot was just a couple of days ago, looking for a pullback here. The value I currently have is 1708. The 30-week SMA is very similar to the 200-day SMA. Good. There you go. This is for thinking about it. Good stuff, day trader. Thanks for giving our group the goods. All right, I'm actually just going to hide that in case we need to go back to that here. And let's take a look and see what some of our movers are doing here.
Yeah, Redwire just it ripped all the way up to 1385. Let me go to a daily chart here because that's about where our trend line is. From the you might not have it on this one, but excuse me, we drew this trend line that goes back, that starts back at the beginning of 2025. You draw it through all the peaks that we had, and we're coming up to that trend line again. So we're right there.
So these, right? These peaks?
No, I'm talking about from the beginning of 2025.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry, dude.
It's all right.
Oh,
There you go.
Not my day today. Just not my day today.
There we go. We're coming right up to that, pretty close.
There we go.
And let's take a look at some of these other movers. Man, NTLA, that's not having a good day. IVF's trying to turn around, but this might just be setting up to go lower. PHGE, that unhalted, tried to push higher, but it got pushed back beneath VWAP. Now it's recaptured it. It's come up to this $8 area where we had, that was the breakdown area. We were getting support from 8 following the impulse move yesterday. Once we lost that $8 level in the pre-market, we have not been able to recapture. So here we are back up here trying to get that.
Lion, I like this here. Watch UNH. It may make a fake up recovery move. And if it does that, he'd be looking to short it again. So you're looking for any possible reversals here to re-enter a short, Lion. That's UNH.
Well, like we were saying earlier about the gap being filled, if it gets down to about 275 or 271.50, I think is what the gap fill area was. That might be where you could get that opportunity. We are filling that gap right now. We're a little more than halfway through it. So I could still see this coming in lower until we get into that around 275 before we start bottoming. That would be my guess.
All right. How's silver doing here? Silver beneath 100.
Is it kind of going sideways?
Well, it had popped a little bit in the pre-market here after the nasty reversal that it had yesterday. I don't necessarily want to say that this is going sideways yet. Maybe that'll end up being the case here. This, to me, looks like it's going to pull back. Those might be famous last words right there. I'll tell you what, especially talking about silver. I don't know what to tell you there.
It looks like PGE is getting a little weaker.
PHGE?
Sorry, yes, you're right. PHGE.
Okay.
That's lost its VWAP, but it's trying to recapture it. And this thing has got a pretty big spread on it. I'm looking at 25, 35 cent spreads. Be careful if you're going to try and trade this one. GNTA, man, this thing gave everything back. Went right down to yesterday's closing price.
Oh my gosh, complete round trip on that move. You're absolutely right. Here's Rich Tech. This is actually still down by the 200 EMA. That hasn't shown any bounce yet. And Hind also done a complete round trip.
Yep.
All right, 13, really quick, 13 and viewers here. We have a very quick all access. It's only about 5 minutes. I'm going to roll that now. 13 and I are coming right back. So all access, I think the producer's taking care of it for me. All access starts right now. Hello and welcome back for another All Access. I've got an exciting guest for you here today. I am here with Virtuix CEO Jan Gutgeluk, founder and CEO. The ticker is VTIX. All Access starts right now. Jan, welcome. Thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hey, Ryan. Great. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Jan, CEO of Virtuix here, which pioneers technology that enables physical movement in AI-generated environments, whether fictional game worlds or photorealistic replicas of real-world locations created by an AI-driven 3D reconstruction techniques like Gaussian splatting. Jan, I got to be honest with you, that sounds pretty awesome here. And I know you're joining us here today because it's a big deal for Virtuix with the company debuting on the NASDAQ. Look, before we get to that, tell us about the company and what does it do and why should investors be so interested in the IPO?
Yeah, our core technology is called the Omni. It's an omnidirectional treadmill that lets users walk and run in 360 degrees inside video games or other virtual reality applications or AI-generated worlds, whether fictional or real. So instead of sitting down or standing up and pushing buttons on a controller, you are physically and naturally moving inside virtual environments. So it's an exciting time for us. We're going public today. We reported 138% year-over-year growth. So we're growing and we're ready to scale.
That is really exciting. I got to say, I lost years of my life pressing buttons on those controllers when I was much younger. So really, really exciting. I love this technology. Look, one of your products, the Omni One, it's taken off with the masses. It's delivered huge revenue growth at the company, like you had mentioned, 138% in the 6 months ended in September. What's behind that? What do you think makes Omni One so popular?
Yeah, it's a technology that is revolutionary. There's nothing like it. On the gaming side, it creates such an immersive gaming experience that people really, really want to have. And in addition to the entertainment side, the gaming side, it's also good for your health. Our customers are burning calories, are active, they're getting their steps in. One user lost 40 pounds in 4 months. So it's a gaming system first, but it also lets you be active and be fit.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's a great blend, and I'm excited to see more people do that. Now, tell us about the IPO. How much did the company raise? What will the proceeds go to? Why now? What did the company wait until early 2026 to tap the public market?
Yeah, the time is now for us. It's been a 10-year journey for us. We've raised $50 million in the private market, some big name investors like Mark Cuban, some venture funds. But the time is now. We launched Omni One. We're growing. We're scaling. It's a direct listing, but we raised $11 million from Chicago Venture Partners as part of the listing with a $50 million equity line of credit. Mm-hmm. So it gives us access to capital to fund our growth, to keep scaling, and also to develop new products for different markets, like, for example, defense.
So why did you go for the additional funding with Chicago Venture when you also have the IPO? Just more cash, or is there any other strategical advantage?
Yeah, no, it's a direct listing. So it's not an initial public offering. We're doing basically a PIPE with Chicago Venture Partners in conjunction with the listing. Yeah.
Jan, why should Virtuix investors be excited for 2026?
Yeah, well, we're only getting started. We're growing. We reported 138% year-over-year growth. We're ready to scale. We have production in place for 3,000 units a month, $100 million in annual revenues. So we're ready to go. On the consumer side, we're going to keep accelerating our growth there. And we're going to pair that with new markets like defense, where we have potentially high volume consumer together with potentially high margin defense contracts for our VTW system. So that dual use strategy, we believe, creates long-term growth and value for our investors. And thanks to this direct listing, we get access to capital, $50 million equity line of credit. It can help us fund our growth, develop new products, and especially around Gaussian splatting, that 3D reconstruction technology that allows us to rapidly create photorealistic virtual worlds for, you can think of industrial training, safety, defense, entertainment as well. How are we going to walk around in those worlds? With the Omni. That's where our technology comes in place.
Okay, that's awesome. Jan, I got to say, this is extremely exciting technology. I love both of the applications that you outlined here today. I look forward to watching how this does and speaking with you in the future.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
All right, folks. Unbelievable technology there. Again, the company is Virtuix. The ticker is VTIX. It is on the NASDAQ. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you on the next All right, we are back. The first question here that you had, when does this debut? It is today. So I was talking with him there about it being listed here. It's actually a direct listing, not an IPO done via PIPE. That happens today. I will say, just as kind of an aside, I know Crimp Biscuit said, I have a big house and I don't have any space for that. Totally understand. Wisdom saying, I can't wait for Battlefield 6 to be out. Can you imagine how physically exhausting it would be to play Battlefield 6 with that type of technology? Unbelievable. And to the guy that lost 40 pounds, I mean, Wis, I agree. And I know it doesn't sound healthy, but I would imagine he's probably a lot healthier being 40 pounds lighter. But
all right, well,
really interesting stuff there. Sorry.
Thanks for all that. Interesting. Yeah, it's certainly an interesting company. I don't know if I'm going to rush out and get one of those, but
I was just going to ask you, if your kids asked for that, would you get it for them?
Did he mention a price on that?
He didn't.
Okay. Yes. I don't know.
It looks like a pretty hefty piece of equipment.
Yeah. If that's going to be something that we end up getting, it's going to have to be, one of those whole family things, everybody's going to get a ride on that. So I don't know if I'm in the market for that quite yet.
We'll check
see.
in with you
We'll
next
see.
Christmas and see if
Yeah,
that's
we'll see what happens next Christmas.
if that's made the list. Okay, go ahead.
So some of these names, just keep an eye on them. We did see some selling while you had that going, but now it looks like a lot of these names are turning around. We have IVF that went down. That's trying to turn around here. It's kind of gone sideways for the past 15 minutes. PHGE, that went all the way down to the 65 EMA reverse and is trying to recapture VWAP right now. GNTA, this also sold off out of the gate. It's starting, and this one gave back everything. And now this is starting to turn around since, it gave back the entire move. So why not? Some names still not turning around yet. HIND, this looks like it's going lower. Rich Tech is trying to go sideways, getting support from that 65 EMA. Redwire also getting support from VWAP. We'll see if that can turn around and go higher. And then BZAI, that one also is turning around and recapturing VWAP.
Okay, so maybe some of these movers will give us a turnaround. Let's actually check some of the bigger names that we're selling off. Here's UNH. Let's see what this is doing here. Okay, so UNH may be curling up off the bottom line. Let me know, what target would you have for a potential short here on UNH if this does continue to keep trading higher? I've got VWAP there, 290.21. We'll see if it actually gets to that VWAP. Looks like a little bit of a curl, but might be getting sold into a little bit there. Let me know, did anyone buy any of the healthcare names here today?
Wow. HIND, this is in a halt down. Okay, now it's halted. This thing is just getting absolutely hammered. Remember, this is the one that
move.
Move. Oh, no.
Move is halted to the upside. We can come back because it's halted. But here's
okay.
HIND. What did you have for this?
Yeah, this is the one that is not going to see results for their phase 3 trial results until the end of 2027. They don't even start that until the second half of this year. So that's a long ways out. They're going to have to raise more capital. So I think, people aren't sticking around for this one.
Okay. HIND doesn't look great. Now Move, this was a recent mover for us. We talked about this one yesterday. Looks like we just blasted off on volume into a halt above yesterday's high. Let's see if there was any new news on this today. Nope. I don't have anything other than this triggering circuit breakers. So Move here, big move, 35%. Remember, this was a micro float name, under 1 million shares. That's probably why we're seeing the movement we're seeing here today. WIS looking at XHLD. That's 10 holdings. This right to a trend line that we have here. Let's see where that started at. Oh, that was a support level that we broke. Now should act as resistance there at 2. So it looks like we're actually clearing that out. Let's see if we can hold above that. GITS is another one. What do you got?
Looks like CoreWeave is getting support from the 65 EMA on the 5-minute. That's trying to come back up to the session highs of 105.64. So still making its way back up here.
WIS, this GITS, Global Interactive, were you in this one? This is up 100% here. Watching Global Interactive Technology shares spike higher. On Monday, the company reported it secured master and global distribution rights to the theme song performed by Atiz. I don't know who that is. Their animated IP for The Legend of Mengeris. I have no idea what this content is. Nonetheless, though, the stock's halted to the upside, plus 100%.
Redwire trying to push higher again, sniffing out that resistance area up near 14. Still getting some sideways action from PHGE. CoreWeave about to make some new session highs. It's got to get through the seller at, what is this, 105.44.
Anyone like CoreWeave? This actually looks like it's trying to go.
Yeah, it is.
Are you in that? Yeah.
No, I'm not. No.
Let's say CoreWeave has been one that we've been looking at on happy hour quite a bit. I think 110 was the price target we had there.
You guys had 110. I was thinking this can go as high as 120, but I don't think there's a whole lot of upside beyond that.
UNG, this is coming in here. If we break beneath 14, we'll close the 14 puts for this week. Really want to see this take out the low yesterday. We'll sell into that strength if that's the case. That trade actually working, not a day trade, little mini swing from yesterday. And I'll be honest, I have no problem taking gains a little bit quicker here. I know we're starting to hear about a possible another storm getting set to blast the East Coast here this weekend. 13, what is the temperature outlook for you in Texas down there?
Lower this weekend, but not as low as we had just overnight. So don't think it's going to be as bad as we've already experienced.
Okay, so the worst might be out of the way there. UNG just kind of looked a little extended there, just trying to trade that a little bit. GITS, this is open, tried to pop higher here. Webcoin mentioning that this is restricted on toss. So you're going to probably have to call to get that restriction removed. CYN still at the bottom after that retracement. Redwire, more new highs here. Really good stuff here on Redwire. Nice move.
Right up to just shy of 14 again.
Yep. This is actually above the highs that we put in on Friday, too.
Yep. Looks like it's going to take 14 here. It's trading right back up to that same area, finding that resistance. Large seller at 14, but they're trying to chew away at it.
CoreWeave is trying. We don't have Izzy here today. Amazon a little bit weak here today, although still green. And the VIX lost 16, so we're back into a 15 handle there on the VIX.
We just continuing to melt up here in the SPY. Jesus.
So SPY 695 and a half.
Yeah, and this is all on less than 8 million shares of volume. Looks like it's going to be another low volume day unless we get some news that drives the market wild.
Well, I don't think, the next big events are going to be some of the earnings prints after hours. And then on top of that, we don't have the Fed decision until tomorrow. That might even be priced in. Here's just really quickly, 13, here's a quick look at the earnings calendar that we had for you. So it looks like the big reports tonight, STX, Texas Instruments, FFIV, I guess you could throw in there. Let's see what else. That's probably it for today there. The big day is going to be tomorrow.
Yeah. Hey, take care, Wisdom. Enjoy that gummy.
Take care, Wisdom. Redwire going to the trend line that we had here, 13.
CoreWeave, new session highs. High from yesterday is 108.65. That would be the next area I'd be keeping an eye on.
OPTT, this is one that moved yesterday. It's not really doing much, although it looked like it might try and have a little pop today. USAR, this had an initial kind of almost like a bull trap here. This popped a little bit and has now gone red. Rich Tech Robotics was what I was trying to click on. Here's ticker RR. Looks like this did bounce off the 65 EMA. And right now, going through the VWAP as we speak, or battling with it at least.
Yeah, G-Man, I saw Rocket Lab was getting a rebound today. That $80 area, I think that's an area of support. I don't know that it's going to hold up. I kind of like 70 better as support, but if it reverses here and starts coming back up, that's great too. I wouldn't mind that. Lots of the space names are doing pretty well today. Of course, Redwire is up the most. Side of Space, that's up slightly today. I think it was higher earlier though. Let's see what else. Planet Labs also having a pretty good day. Ryan, Voyager Technologies is now up around 35 again. That's so coming back.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this, really kind of a rough IPO. 13, wouldn't you like to see this really recapture 40?
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, this is really tied to Starship.
Yeah.
So the more success that has, I think the more
better Voyager is going to do.
The more moves this will have. Yeah, absolutely.
Move is continuing to move. We talked about this one earlier here. Move, this is halted now, 28.03. Another upside halt. Yeah. And then positive mentioning Ondas. So we talked about this yesterday. This did not hold the spot that I would have liked it to hold. We talked really about 1150, but look at today. Today, it looks like it might try and recapture that. So maybe a little bit of a pendulum action here where we kind of went right past that. I'd be curious to see if we can close above 1150 here today. That's ONDS.
Yeah, Movado, just one of those. I don't know if if there's any real news or something going on behind the scenes, but just like some of the other ones we saw, very low float, no news, getting pushed around because they can. Rich Tech Robotics just had a nice breakout here through the consolidation from the pre-market. That's from about 425 to 450. Just chewed right through that, and we're trying to push up higher now. It looks like momentum is swinging to the upside. This might come back up to visit the pre-market highs.
I'll tell you what, that'd be a monster move from that 65 EMA up to the pre-market highs.
Redwire still having trouble with 14. We've printed above it twice now, but we are getting rejected up that area.
Super good stuff there on GITS. Remember, that's restricted on Thinkorswim. Jay here agrees with you, 13. Space names will be a theme. I still can't get too aggressive as the valuations make little sense.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of these chips names that were doing really well and going well beyond their valuations. Can probably see something like that with the space names because there's a lot of excitement, especially when you have the whole Golden Dome and these different space projects for going to the moon and much later going to Mars. The developments that we've been making that have really dropped down the barrier to entry for a lot of companies to get products in space, whether they just they be satellites or imaging or whatever, what have you, is really going to be. I think is going to be a big driver for revenue for a lot of companies that want to have that presence. So they have these companies that make these little tiny satellites that you can put up and create constellations with. That's going to be, I think, a big thing for a lot of these companies that want to have a presence in space or maybe even a data center in space.
Really quickly here, AppLovin, ticker APP. We talked about on January 20th how this had another short report from Capital Watch. They used some explosive language. The Southeast Asian Money Laundering Syndicate's laundromat, if you recall. Interestingly, looking at the chart here, if we look at the 15-minute chart, we are up off the lows by just about 30 points from the lows of that short report. Lion, I know you had talked about this. Lion, if you're still out there, how are we doing here on app? Does look like the lows are kind of in there. And CoreWeave looks like it's trying to take some more new highs there.
PHGE, this is starting to break down now. We just lost the 65 EMA. Still in the current candle. Let's see if it can climb back above it in the next 15 seconds. But this is the spready one. Just be careful, but it's looking like it's having a hard time holding or getting back above the VWAP.
Yeah, no doubt.
And TLA, on the other hand, this might be turning around. It's been holding up above the 65 EMA for a good time now. It needs to recapture some of these smaller EMAs in the VWAP, and the momentum does look like it's trying to turn up. But volume is something to be desired here. We need to see better volume than this.
Yeah, the big volume that we got here today was that selling volume that really kind of wiped us out from the 17 level. Here's APLD. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. This is getting another pop here today. APLD, really good buying volume here today. Looks like this is going to test 40 here pretty soon. Yesterday, 41.5 was our intraday high. We'll see if that area gets tested here today.
CoreWeave taken off now.
UNH, it looks like that Lions fake bounce that he talked about. Looks like that happened here. Maybe this is kind of a odd candle. It looks like it tried to trade up there and immediately got sold. UNH here trying to hold 284. You had talked about CoreWeave breaking to new highs, right? Here you go.
Session highs, yep.
Lion here, there you go. I'm still in it, so that trade is working here. You're thinking 700 in a couple of months for APP.
HIND got a halt to the upside, but I don't think this is anything to write home about. There's a lot of recovery that needs to happen with this one.
Looks like NVIDIA might be trying for 190. This has been an area that has stopped it. This is also an area where we kind of traded back and forth around. Then when we lost it, it acted as some pretty tough resistance. We'll see if we can take 190 out. I'd probably think that puts 193 in play. Yeah, 193 I would think next.
Redwire's trying to get through this seller at 1420. Trying to push through here. If we can't get through this seller, I think we come back into about 1350.
I've got 1447 as the trend line that we originated yesterday, 13. That might be the target here for today. Dr. Ben saying, looks like Redwire is the day trade winner. Indeed, really good move here. Nice pre-market move, pull down to the 65 EMA, and then a big rip here.
It pushed through that seller, still holding. Next one's up at 1430. Now they're hitting it. Yeah, so Redwire, big winner today.
Joe says, I'm back in silver at 94.
Wow.
So you want a little bit more here, it looks like. This would have been the lows. This is where yesterday, where David was covering his short on silver. What do you, I mean, man, I might make myself look like a moron here. I'll tell you what, this price action sure looks like silver wants to probe lower, doesn't it?
Let's see here. You're looking at a smaller time frame?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the 5, but I also know what the daily looks like because we looked at it yesterday and we talked about that perhaps being a topping candle. We also talked about why, we also talked about wanting to maybe add this if this got down to that, what, $80 area?
Yeah, I think 80 was what we were looking at. And, you know, that'd be fine. I mean, let me look here. That would represent a pretty sizable correction, I think. I mean, not that we didn't have one intraday yesterday, but
yep.
Yeah, this would be like over 25% correction off the highs if we got to 80. And,
Dr. Ben, this is when you pick up Ondas. So you're a buyer here of Ondas. You think this curls back up towards 15? This pullback, maybe we curl back up towards 15 and test that area again?
Core, we've went up to some of the areas of the highs from yesterday, and got rejected. Big pull off of that 107.30 area. We're back down at 105.95.
Okay, Netflix looks like it held 84.
HYN. Sorry,
go ahead.
I was going to say HYND is unhalted, still trying to recapture some of these, basically all the EMAs and VWAP. Momentum is starting to swing to the upside. We'll just see what this does. Yeah, Redwire broke out above 14. Yep.
Haven't seen anything else recently on the unusual option scanner. I'll keep my eyes peeled for that. Doesn't look great.
Nothing really looking too great right now. I mean, Redwire is pretty good, but I don't think I want to pick this up here if I'm going to trade it.
Yeah, I mean the ad was on the 65 EMA earlier on the dip.
Yep, and the retest of VWAP. I don't know, maybe yours is different, but the first red candle we had after we opened, the one that after the 65 EMA rebound, we went all the way up to 1386 and came back in. That was your next opportunity.
Yep, that was right down to the VWAP. That's the same on my chart here. Dr. Ben saying, agree, Ryan, with the mission beginning in Iran, you'll notice these, and I think you're referring to drones in general, not just Ondas, but these will get a lift. I would agree with that. I think really any of these global kind of conflict things, you might see more and more drone activity.
Looks like IVF getting walked down some more, almost at that 65 EMA. We've seen a lot of rebounds at 65 EMA. We'll see if this one can do it too. Large seller walking it down, but we are getting into an area where there's a concentration of buyers. That's pretty much the entire 150 area, which is down close to the 65 EMA. See if that reverses it.
USAR, what a nasty move here. It looks like a pop that kind of sucked in some of the bulls and then flushed them all out on the back end. Just 25 now, as this is down another 4% on the back of yesterday's move.
Let's see if this gets support around.
Right where it closed before we got that headline?
No, the close from Friday. Let's see if we get support there around. It's right about it's 24.77. I'm going to say around 25. We kind of got there already. This, I mean, that's kind of like a gap fill.
Mm-hmm.
So we might see a bit of a bounce here. I don't know how high it's going to take us, but it seems like that's what's happening is we're getting a bounce from filling that gap.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just looking at it on my chart here. I basically got my cursor right where we closed there on Friday, and we basically just closed this entire gap down. So can we bounce from here? We'll see.
Yeah, and then if we
Yeah,
do bounce,
are you trying it here?
No,
USAR?
but if we do bounce from here, 26, that looks like that could be resistance. You have the all the sideways price action from the pre-market right about that area. So I think that's going to maybe be a little bit of a concentrated area of shares where people are going to try and get out. That might have some resistance, but we can still push through it if there's enough buyers. Looks like red wire is now getting support from 14 after starting to close above it. Let's see if it can move away from it now. Intel is moving back up. Well, it got hammered the past couple of days, right? Yeah, Friday, actually past several days. I think this started.
Yeah, I think
Thursday.
this is might be 13. I mean, this might be another register ring for our group. I know we talked maybe about 40 to 42 as the ad level here for Intel. This thing did make it down almost to 42. What was that low from there? 42.28.
Yeah,
Lion here saying if you like USAR, you can sell a February put for 200 premium. What strike is that, Lion? What were you going to say, 13? I'm sorry.
I think it's going to come down to whether or not Intel can recapture this 20-day SMA. So we closed beneath it yesterday, and now today it's working on trying to recapture that. But if we don't recapture it, that's our second close beneath it, and that would make tomorrow a do or die kind of day. Like if we still can't recapture it, we might end up head lower towards the 50.
Looks like traders are trading NVIDIA here for a possible 190 break. We're currently at 189.5. You can see exactly how important 190 is on the daily chart. See if NVIDIA can get above that. I am seeing some call flow for that for NVIDIA.
Rich Tech Robotics still trying to hold above the VWAP here. We did have a nice move through all that pre-market consolidation. We came back into the VWAP. Now we're trying to push back up over 450. Lots of sellers in the way beyond 450, especially at 455 and 460. So it's going to need to see some large volume here to go through all of that.
All right, and a quick check at the market here. Breadth is green across the board with the exception of the Russell, and that's basically at flat here. Interesting to note there, the Dow has green breadth, but the weakest of the indices, that is absolutely on the back of those healthcare names, dragging the Dow down. NASDAQ at the highs, SPY at the highs here. SPY working on 695.
Rocket Lab is up 6% now. It's a nice bounce off of 80 if that's the case here. Let's see what we got. And to recapture, well, it's trying to recapture the 20-day SMA. We'll see if we can end up doing that. Still, lots of resistance on the way back up here, but it's encouraging that we're seeing this, get back above the 20-day SMA. All right, so red wire continuing higher now. Next row resistance, 1450, seller in the way.
That's going right to that trend line, man. That was good. Ondas making a move towards 12. I think that's Lay. Saying Ondas will be back up to 12. We're only 10 cents away from that right now. XHLD, that's 10 holdings. That thing did rip through 2. So that actually pulled back, kind of a nasty pullback there, but right back to the highs. Not on that one.
CoreWeave still trying to push back up to the highs.
UNG making a series of lower highs here, which is really good. I would say it might be time to run from this when that changes. Still want to see this test 14.
I mean, this is holding above the 200-day SMA. We're still above it here with UNG. We continue to hold above that. I think there could be some more upside.
Yeah.
I would look to see at least 3 closes above this. We've already got 1. Today would be 2 if we hold above it, and then we'll see what happens with 3. If we do get 3 closes, I would be inclined to believe that $15 is going to be attempted to get taken out.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I took this. Just a little bit of a regression back to the mean. It's going to happen fast or it's not going to happen, and then we'll assess that. So we're doing all right on this. Would really like to see this move a little bit more down towards 14, though.
Yeah, it looks like Redwire.
35-cent ask, paid 35 for him, so not a whole lot. Sorry, 13. What do you have on Redwire?
It looks like it's kind of forming a topping out candle here. We still have 2.5 minutes left, so this could get erased. But right now, it seems like it's struggling a bit with going past 1440. Looks like CYN is kind of creating a rounding bottom here. It still has to recapture a bunch of moving averages, but this 200 EMA, I think that's the spot we're going to want to keep an eye on.
I got something going on with my chart. Let me refresh my platform here real quick, 13. And then we're almost time for the wrap. Oh, and that was the other thing. So, folks, no Anne-Marie this week. She has a family issue that is going to prohibit her from joining us in the morning. But we do look forward to having Anne-Marie back here.
All right.
Tesla bounced a little bit. Didn't retrace all of its move, though. And VIX is still sitting right at about 16. Critical Squid asking, are we hitting 7K in the S&P this week? I've got the ES right now at 7,003. It looks like it printed a high there of 7,007. S&P cash had that high at 69.78. I got to think, man, one more push higher here when we probably take that. We talked quite a bit about the market really kind of feeling like it's going to go to that 700 level. Asking, are we going to hit it here this week? I would say that as long as we don't get any type of big negative reaction to the Fed news yesterday, I would answer your question with a yes. I think we hit that. If we just sell everything from the Fed tomorrow, if Powell comes out and he's hawkish and the market doesn't like it, probably not. Ryan's going to wrap. Ryan's not going to wrap. Ryan likes you folks and doesn't want to torture you all. So Ryan's not going to do that.
Looks like there's an attempt here to give IVF a lift. We're getting a rebound off the 65 EMA. Just had a buyer step in, but he got taken out. We'll see if there's any reversal happening here. I'm not too confident about it, but just noticed that we were getting some kind of a turnaround here from the 65 EMA. HIND continues to climb back after reversing. Some of these are still climbing after they reversed, but there's a lot of resistance to the upside in a lot of these names.
Dr. Ben says, I believe the sell-off comes in later today.
For the broader market?
I think that's what he's referring to. We were talking about the S&P prior to that. I would assume that's what he's referring to.
Okay. Maybe. I mean, ahead of the Fed. I mean, well, let's see. We got the Fed meeting coming up tomorrow, and we don't get that decision until late in the day. Wonder if there's some earnings that people are kind of just jumping out for. Let's see. Maybe STX, kind of pulls down the storage names for a brief period. You got STX, TXN. Not sure TXN is going to really give us a lot of broader market movement, but I think that could come from STX more.
Now, I know he's talking about the sell-off coming late in the day, so we'll see if that happens with some of these earnings or as we approach these earnings. But it is also worth noting tomorrow morning, we have a couple of big reports prior to the market even opening. ASML is going to be in there, and then Elevance Health, ELV. So we were just talking about some of the healthcare moves today. Elevance is going to report again tomorrow. We also have AT&T, Starbucks, General Dynamics, and GEV tomorrow morning. So we'll see how those go. And then obviously the big stuff is going to be after hours tomorrow with Microsoft, Meta, Tesla, Search. Apple again on Thursday.
We just got Redwire to test 1450. Trying to push through that now. 1455.
IBM too, you're right.
Rich Tech Robotics with the big move here. Just all of a sudden went from 439 all the way up to 456, 57. New session highs now. Got a wild hair.
Ondas did hit 12 and go through it. So register ring there. Also a 1-up for that 12 call. That ended up happening here. And then one more thing here. G-Man saying, I'm feeling positive about STX tonight. Do you have a play for that? You have a play for that. Lion, you're asking the ticker for the healthcare name? Is that the one that's reporting earnings tomorrow? Is that the one that you're asking for? That one, if that's what you're asking for, that's ticker ELV for Elevance Health. Here's what the chart looks like. Looks very similar to UNH here today. So this is already moved to the downside here today on the back of all of that. They report earnings tomorrow.
Getting some information here from our happy hour chat. Professional investors continue to reduce exposure to U.S. equities aggressively. Institutional investors sold $9.2 billion of U.S. equities last week, marking the 5th consecutive week of net selling, a clear sign of sustained risk-off positioning and deteriorating confidence at current market valuations. That is from FS, which, what is that publication? That's not, Financial Times is FT. FS is what? You know which one FS is?
Not off the top of my head. Let me look it up here real quick, though. Is that all it says? No.
It says per FS.
No. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap here, 13.
Okay.
Let's take a look at some of the movers here today. I'm just going to run through them real quick before we end here. So NUWE, this is one that we talked about earlier. Really couldn't get back above the VWAP. More weakness here.
Yeah, let me look at that one real quick. So we're still like looking at that 200 EMA as potential support beneath the position that we're at, but it's trying to turn around here. The volume isn't really impressing me, and there's a lot of sellers to the upside in the way. So if this continues to look weak, I think we're going to the 200 EMA, possibly even lower.
Okay, next here is going to be IVF. This also just extreme weakness here. Just really not a whole. I know we had that initial move higher. Now we've kind of rolled over at the 65 EMA.
Low volume at this point. It's trying to hold above the 65 EMA. If we lose that, then we're going to the 200, I believe.
Yep.
Also probably even lower than that. This is one that had the shareholder meeting about increasing their shares. So dilution's coming. I don't think this is one anybody really wants to stick around in, but we'll see if it can turn around from here.
Okay, PHGE, this is Biome X. This is the one that popped in the 13D yesterday in the after hours. Been kind of weak here today and really struggling to get back above the VWAP. I would say until it does get back above the VWAP, probably risk off. Volume also is compressing. What do you think here at PHGE? Since
losing 745, 750, that area there earlier in this in the pre-market, we have struggled to recapture that area. We did print above it in the regular session, but we gave it right back. Now we're having a hard time getting back above VWAP. So I think that's going to be the big resistance area, is that 740, 750 area. But we're not going to be able to hit that unless we can recapture VWAP. So those are the next two things that need to happen if there's going to be any further upside. Okay, CYN completely round-tripped its move. It did hold where it round-tripped to. You think this might tick up in the afternoon? It's looking like the momentum is trying to swing to the upside, but the volume is still really low. Yeah. And maybe this provides a better trade in the afternoon. But for now, It just doesn't have enough volume to make me really think it's going to do a whole lot. It's got a lot of upside levels to recapture as well, and a lot of sellers in the way. So maybe this is just something to keep on your radar and see if it does anything in the afternoon.
Okay, Redwire, the trade of the day on the back of that $151 million contract for the Missile Defense Agency. This actually had a pretty good pre-market move, pull down to the 65 EMA, and then the real good move there. We are still above 14. How high do you think this can go today, 13?
When I look at a daily chart, there's several areas of resistance that we're coming up to, most notably the 1475 to 16. That area right there is the start of some real thick consolidation back from the summer. And it only gets heavier as we go higher. So I think we could start to see some tough price action around 1475. Certainly, this thing could climb a bit higher, but I think that 1475 to 16 area, we're going to see some resistance.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff here today, 13. We're going to be back at this again tomorrow. Any closing words for the group?
Stay warm, everybody. It's been a pretty cold week so far, but it's going to get warmer, and then we're going to have another cold weekend. So try to stay warm, and I'll see you all tomorrow. We'll have some more fun. Take care, everybody.
All right. Sounds good. Closing trade here from Lion for the group. Looking like he's going short Elevance via the 320 put. Good luck, Lion. We will see how that does tomorrow. Folks, we're done here for today. Again, no Anne-Marie today. We'll be back at this again tomorrow. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused. Have a great rest of your Tuesday.